All right, watch this. On his engagement day, Caspian's fiancée wanted to show who was the absolute boss, slapping him with an insanely toxic demand. She was actually staying at her male best friend's house tonight. If he disagreed, they should just cancel the entire engagement right then and there. Caspian could only let out a bitter laugh, thinking back on all her red flags over the years. He knew it was time to cut himself loose, since she was so deeply obsessed with her little guy bestie. He wished them both a full 100 years of miserable harmony together. From this exact moment onward, Caspian officially had absolutely zero connection with Valeria. Dropping that heavy truth bomb, he walked straight out without looking back even once, leaving that highly exclusive Starlight store feeling completely exhausted. He found the nearest bar to crash at. Before, he only ever drank to celebrate his wins, but growing up proved that hitting the bottle is sometimes the only real way to cope. The club's noise was absolutely chaotic. Dancers up on the stage were twisting their flexible waists like absolute noodles. The wild crowd was either loving the view or jumping to join the crazy hype, except for our guy in the corner, silently drowning himself in liquid courage, total trust, always keeping your partner in your heart. Caspian honestly thought those were just the bare minimums for love. But as it turns out, they were an impossible fantasy. Right then, two massive guys in suits busted through the door. Watch closely now. Their faces were dead serious. Their cold eyes quickly scanned the chaotic party room around them, frowning hard until they finally spotted the heavily drunk Caspian slumped in the corner. Their eyes lit up like massive light bulbs. No time left. He will have to do. The young miss is barely surviving. Grab him. Caspian was so wasted he did not blink awake until the next morning. His eyes were immediately greeted by a super fancy, unfamiliar ceiling. He sat up and rubbed his massive, throbbing headache. Super weird. Was he not just at the bar? Where in the world was he? A freezing, emotionless voice drifted over from the side. You are awake. Caspian instinctively turned to look, and his eyes were instantly blessed with stunning, snow-white legs peeking out from a skirt, absolutely rocking some killer high heels. Her delicate, perfectly sculpted, gorgeous face carried this natural, icy aloofness. Aurelia sat on the edge of the bed, legs crossed, scanning the documents in her hand. She shot him a side eye and asked flatly, "Am I pretty to look at?" He blinked. "Pretty? Then you want to hit the registry and get a marriage certificate with me right now?" Caspian fired back, "No." Aurelia froze for a quick second. Caspian, using this tiny little pause, had already pieced together what on earth went down last night. Staring at that glaring red smudge on the bed sheets, his heart felt a wave of absolute panic. First time getting wasted at a club and boom, his V-card gets swiped, but he could not remember a single pixel of what happened last night. It probably, maybe, hopefully was not him going completely wild and crazy, right? If his strict uncle found out about this mess, he would definitely snap him in half. Caspian, 25 years old, graduated from the Magic City University of Traditional Chinese Medicine and has an uncle serving as a major general in the military. Aurelia read his file. Yesterday was supposed to be your engagement, but you hit a bar to drink your pain away. Let me guess, you got into a really spicy little fight with your girlfriend. Aurelia read his private files with a totally eerie calm. Then she dropped the real bombshell question. You have been with that woman for 5 whole years. Have you two ever done the deed or what? No. He lowered his head, feeling totally awkward. Honestly, it was definitely pretty embarrassing for him to admit. Forget about sleeping together. After 5 years of being together, he and Valeria were still stuck at the PG-rated hand-holding phase. Hearing this, Aurelia actually let out a huge sigh of relief. Yesterday, someone slipped something shady into her drink. She barely managed to escape with the help of her guards, and through a crazy twist of fate, she ended up having a wild night with him. Luckily, our main guy was actually a completely pure, innocent dude. She did not exactly have a habit of stealing Taken men, but since the deed was done, she really could not just let him run away. Otherwise, her perfect boss lady reputation would be totally ruined forever. He had just grabbed his clothes off the floor and hid under the covers when a cold hand suddenly tilted his chin up. Her flawless face was literally inches away. She spoke with pure ice. Since it came to this, then from now on, you follow me. Tomorrow, we're getting a marriage certificate. I do not care how obsessed you are with her, but at the very least, on the day of our actual engagement, I will not run off to cozy up with another guy. Can I politely decline? He asked, sounding totally defeated. Are you kidding me right now? We met yesterday, and we are getting legally tied. Tomorrow, any person with a working brain would know there is something totally wrong here. Of course you can. Surprisingly, Aurelia actually nodded her head. Then, without missing a single beat, she leaned back and casually dropped a threat, on the condition that you can handle me reporting to your uncle. His eyes bulged out in absolute panic. Are you seriously blackmailing me? Pure evil. I am the victim here. Deciding that it was time, Aurelia stood right up and walked to the door, but before leaving, she turned to glance back at him. Her frosty face finally broke into a super faint, totally captivating smirk. I do not want much. I just want you, buddy. I expect your answer within 2 days. Once you make up your mind, find me at the Century Tower. Stick with this big sister. You will win big. After dropping that absolute flex, she left, but there was one crazy detail she kept hidden. Get this, since it happened, our boy would never be able to escape the palm of her hand for the rest of his life. Outside, a massive Rolls-Royce was waiting in the shadows. Up front sat the exact same two hulking guys in suits, the absolute units who dragged his drunk body out of that bar last night. The back door opened and Aurelia slid inside. She gave a chillingly calm order. Call my mom. Tell her the son-in-law she has been begging for is finally secured. Tell her to cancel all those super annoying blind dates from now on. He watched until the Rolls-Royce vanished around the corner. Standing by the window, our guy finally pulled his shocked gaze back. He glanced at the red smudge on the sheets and could not help but let out a massive dramatic sigh. Seriously, you and I both know he just jumped from escape the tiger straight to the wolf, our MC muttered, wanting to give himself a light slap. He definitely shouldn't have drank that much. Getting eaten alive by someone is one thing, but getting absolutely zero VIP user experience from it, total scam. He literally lost everything on this deal. Catastrophic, absolute loss. Meanwhile, back at the luxurious Liu family mansion, Reginald glared cold daggers at his own daughter. He couldn't hold back his raging fury anymore. Standing up, he roared, I told you ages ago to cut off all ties with that brat from the Chen family. What on earth is going through your head, abandoning Caspian on the exact day of your engagement? Where the heck are you putting my pride and your own reputation, huh? Faced with her father's scolding, Valeria just nonchalantly walked to the sofa. She sat down, calmly spitting out an excuse she had prepared ages ago. I am doing this for our family. Can't you see I am mentally breaking Caspian down, only by constantly crushing his pride and bottom line. I have to make him feel like he absolutely cannot live without me. Then he will obediently listen to my every word. After we are married, if I just easily got engaged to him today, would he even cherish me later? Hearing this twisted logic, Father Lou's extremely angry expression softened just a tiny bit, but his face stayed super stern. It better be exactly like you say, but let me warn you, keep your distance from Quentin. It was like that before, and it will strictly be like that after you get married. I know, Valeria replied half-heartedly, but in reality, she had already plotted everything out perfectly. Once she was completely done using our MC as a stepping stone, she'd just force the issue and fully cross the line with Quentin. By then, even if her parents completely objected, it would be utterly useless. A family of 3, each plotting their own selfish little schemes. The only thing they never doubted for a second was whether he would come crawling. Back, the housekeeper, Mrs. Higgins, watched all of this quietly from the sidelines. Sighing deeply in her heart, the people involved were completely blind, but this bystanders saw it crystal clear. She understood Caspian's true personality all too well. If they wanted to win him back now, it was already way too late, fast. Forward to the 2-day deadline Aurelia mentioned, you and I both know it finally reached the very last day. Yesterday, after leaving that couple's hotel, our MC went straight back to the old Zhang family residence to pay respects to his parents. The Zhang family was a proud lineage of traditional Chinese medicine doctors. Back when his parents were alive, they were the absolute top-tier, legendary doctors. The whole country, yet they ended up dying at the hands of a patient's family. Even now, he remembers that tragic incident vividly, when a massive earthquake struck Sichuan. His parents dragged him along for disaster relief. They didn't even sleep a wink for 2 whole days and nights, managing to save nearly 100 people. In a painfully terrible environment, but due to a severe shortage of vital medical supplies, many people still sadly passed away on the operating tables. One patient's family member completely lost their absolute mind, blaming all the unavoidable faults entirely on his parents, taking advantage of the moment they were leaving. That guy literally drove a car straight into them. In the end, in that tragic crash, Caspian was the only one who survived under his parents' protective embrace. They sadly were gone, forever left behind in Sichuan. From that moment on, his uncle became his one and only living relative. That's exactly why Caspian absolutely refused to ever let him down. After paying his final respects, he headed straight for the Liu family villa. Since he had already decided to leave, Caspian naturally had to pack up his household register and ID documents. Meanwhile, Valeria hadn't even gone to the company today. She sat totally conflicted on the living room sofa, her eyes glued to a chat on her phone. She typed out a message but just couldn't bring herself to hit send. Caspian hadn't been back to the house for 2 whole nights. They had fought before, sure, but usually he'd come running back within half a day tops, but this time, a sound from the doorway. Caspian was finally back. He walked into the house, his face completely devoid of emotion. Valeria sat up abruptly, glaring at him, straight up demanding answers in that classic bossy tone. Where were you the night before? Yesterday and last night. Why didn't you report your whereabouts to me? Wasn't it just me making one tiny request for our engagement? You're a grown man. Can't you be a little more generous? Do you have any idea how worried I've been about you these past 2 days? Don't you think you should apologize to me first? Hearing that she actually expected an apology from him, Caspian almost laughed out loud from pure rage. She ran off with her guy bestie on their engagement day, and now she wants an apology. This logic was completely insane. Did she honestly think she was some top-tier boss who could just do whatever she wanted? How did he never realize before that this woman was this utterly delusional? Not wanting to waste another breath, Caspian walked directly toward his room. Getting the cold shoulder, Valeria felt another massive surge of absolute fury. A mere guy like Caspian actually daring to ignore her. What right did he have to pull a stunt like this? Valeria followed him into his room. Only then did she notice that his space was surprisingly, almost depressingly empty. Aside from the absolute bare minimum furniture, you basically couldn't find anything else. She had only been in here once when they first moved in together. She never imagined it stayed this painfully bare. Come to think of it, almost everything Caspian owned, he bought entirely out of his own pocket. He hadn't ever asked her for a single dime. This inevitably made Valeria think of Quentin, who casually asked her for a cool 1 million in living expenses every single month. The contrast here was undeniably massive. Then she watched Caspian pull out a suitcase from the top of the wardrobe. He popped it open and started stuffing clothes inside. She completely froze. What are you packing for? He looked at her. I broke up with you. Isn't moving out the most logical next step? Valeria stood frozen in her tracks like a glitched out NPC. She had words screaming in her head, but they were stuck in her throat, refusing to come out. The same Caspian who used to obey her. Every single whim was actually breaking up with her. How could this be happening? If they broke up, how was she supposed to continue her master plan? Only at this exact moment did Valeria finally realize that things had slightly derailed from her perfect control. The blow of canceling this engagement was way bigger than she ever imagined. Little did she know this massive disappointment. Look, you and I know years of Caspian tolerating her nonsense finally boiled over. She never even bothered to notice, and even if she did, she didn't care. Our guy didn't pack much luggage. One single suitcase was all he needed to leave. After grabbing his identification card and his family's precious heirloom silver needles, he walked straight out that door without looking back once. He and Valeria, they were officially done. She could take her high road, he'd take his own path. Goodbye forever. It wasn't until Caspian had been gone for a long time that Valeria, standing frozen by the door, finally snapped back to reality. This was definitely not the outcome she imagined in her head. She still desperately needed to rely on Caspian's powerful uncle to shake off the Wu family's massive chokehold on her company. Now that he just dropped the mic and bounced, what the heck is she supposed to do? Panicking slightly, Valeria hastily dialed her mother's phone number to beg for backup, but upon hearing the whole story, Beatrice wasn't anxious at all. She remained completely calm and absolutely unbothered. Things turning out like this is totally your own fault, isn't it? You want the massive rewards, but you don't want to put in the work. Of all days, you just had to go see that Chen guy right on your engagement day. I seriously have no idea what's so special about him. He just went to some random no-name foreign school. Now look at Caspian. He studied elite medical skills since childhood and can even cure our family's hereditary headaches. Mom, can you please just tell me how to fix this mess already? Hearing her mother belittle the guy she secretly liked, Valeria felt incredibly bitter inside, but she also knew her mother was spitting pure facts. Still, a crush is a crush. How could an orphan like Caspian ever be worthy of her? Beatrice paused for a long moment before speaking. Don't go looking for Caspian for the next 2 days. Both of you need to cool down properly. Once you've cooled off, considering how wildly obsessed he is with you, just swallow your pride and apologize. Do you honestly think Caspian would reject you? Valeria paused. She hung up the phone. Right, as long as she apologized, she could easily reel him back in, just as she was thinking this, her phone rang again. It was Quentin calling. Valeria, I just got out of the hospital today and bought some chicken. I was thinking it's been a while since I treated you to my cooking. Are you free right now? I'll be right there, tossing the entire Caspian fiasco into the recycling bin of her mind. Valeria grabbed her keys and drove off, completely forgetting absolutely everything her mother had just advised her. Mrs. Higgins, the loyal housekeeper, let out another heavy sigh. Let's be real, being this wishy-washy, trying to keep a foot in both boats, how could she ever keep any man's heart? Meanwhile, you and I should follow Caspian. He drove straight to Century Tower in the center of the Magic City. Today was the final day that mysterious woman warned him about. He was terrified that arriving even 1 second late would land him right on tomorrow's breaking news headlines, but then he realized he didn't even have that woman's contact info. How was he supposed to get inside? But this worry was quickly squashed because one of the huge bodyguards was already standing right at the front desk, looking like he had been waiting for Caspian for ages. The bodyguard didn't say a single word. He just turned and led the way. Caspian followed closely behind, curiously observing everything around him. The Century Tower belonged to the Century Group, a massively famous enterprise in the Magic City. The whole company's market value easily sitting in the tens of billions, and that woman was actually a high-level executive in this mega corporation, but Caspian quickly realized his imagination was way too basic. The massive bodyguard led him straight to the CEO office door, reached out, and knocked. Mr. Caspian has arrived. Come in." Aurelia, unseen for 2 whole days, finally reappeared, only this time she was rocking a totally sharp professional business suit. She lifted her head, her eyes completely filled with playful mockery. "I actually thought you would not show up today. I was already prepping my guys to kidnap you and drag you to the Civil Affairs Bureau. You are the CEO of Century Group." Caspian gulped loudly. Aurelia just gave a tiny nod. "Then doesn't this mean the Century Group is?" Aurelia nodded her head lightly again, replying with absolute calmness, "It belongs to my family. Is there a problem?" "Of course there is a problem." Hearing her admit that out loud, his eyes instantly widened like saucers. Caspian's attitude shifted to one of pure, extreme determination. "I am not getting this certificate anymore. Let us never see each other again." Saying that, he spun around, totally desperate to sprint out of there. "Are you kidding?" He originally thought Aurelia was at most just a little bit wealthy. Getting married meant he could eventually figure out a sneaky way to divorce. But a freaking top-tier wealthy heiress, her looking for him definitely meant absolute trouble if he got dragged into whatever messy family drama she had going. Fighting a divorce lawsuit alone would probably take him years. This marriage certificate was an absolute no-go, but imagination is beautiful, while harsh reality always hits like a flying brick. You and I see those hulking guys standing like steel fortresses, completely blocking the office door. Aurelia slowly rose from her boss seat and casually remarked, "If you can somehow vault over them and escape, then we will cancel the certificate." Hearing this, Caspian, standing right in front of the door, took a deep breath. His gaze instantly sharpened into something incredibly fierce. Having hidden his power for over 20 years, it seemed today he had absolutely no choice but to unleash his true skills. Everyone around him only knew he was an incredible doctor. Little did they know, Caspian also had a solid doctorate in throwing hands. Well, half an hour later, at the Magic City Civil Affairs Bureau, the nervous staff member stared at the bright red, fresh handprint right on Caspian's cheek, hesitated for a second, and asked, "Are you two absolutely sure you want to take your marriage photo looking exactly like this? Actually, you could just wait until that injury heals and come back." Hearing the staff member say this, the corner of his mouth twitched violently. "It is totally fine. I just accidentally tripped and fell." Accidentally tripped and fell? Who on earth trips and lands a perfectly shaped handprint right on their own face? Even though the poor staff member was internally screaming what the heck, they still quickly processed the paperwork. About 10 minutes later, Caspian walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, trailing sadly behind Aurelia. Rubbing his stinging cheek, Caspian grumbled in utter confusion. "What is the point of just getting a certificate? Do you honestly think I can pass your parents' background check? Anyone else probably could not, but you absolutely can." Aurelia said this with rock-solid certainty, but trust me, Caspian had absolutely zero clue where her confidence was coming from. Was she banking entirely on his insanely handsome face? Caspian was forced into the Rolls-Royce, knowing he had to help Aurelia survive her parents' interrogation so she wouldn't have to be nagged about marriage anymore. As for letting him go after the deed was done, that depended entirely on her mood. It was the definition of an unfair deal, but he literally couldn't say no. The bright handprint on his face was the glorious reward for his resistance. Aurelia's parents were flying back to the Magic City in a week, and for these next few days, he was forced to live together with Aurelia under the beautiful excuse of getting to know each other better inside the Panlong Villa district. "Miss, why are you back so early today?" "This is my housekeeper, Mrs. Gable. His name is Caspian, my man." Hearing Aurelia say this, Mrs. Gable's face was painted with extreme shock. She practically watched this young miss grow up with her own eyes and knew her personality inside out. Normally, if any regular guy even breathed too close to Her she would frown in absolute disgust, especially those rich playboys who approached her with obvious hidden agendas, and now she actually, hello, Mrs. Gable, I guess I can barely be considered her man for now. Caspian smiled awkwardly, extending a rather stiff hand to shake Mrs. Gable's. As for why it was stiff, because his foot was currently being viciously stomped on by a certain heiress. Aurelia let out a cold snort and walked into the house. What the heck did he mean by barely? Was she, the majestic eldest daughter of the Shen family, really that hard to present to the world? This guy was in desperate need of some intense training. Caspian followed them into the interior of the villa and was completely, utterly mind-blown by the incredibly luxurious living room layout. Every single corner of the place reeked of the sweet smell of hard cash. Even the bathroom was bigger than his old bedroom at the Liu family's place. Meanwhile, you and I are heading across town, where Quentin was living in a massive, high-end flat that Valeria had bought for him. Valeria sat quietly on the living room sofa, looking totally spaced out. If Quentin had cooked for her in the past, she would have been over the moon, but now, for some inexplicable reason, she just could not muster any excitement. A moment later, Quentin, wearing an apron, walked out of the kitchen carrying a pot of stewed chicken. The dish emitted a strong aroma, but the surface of the soup was covered in a thick, greasy layer of oil. This made Valeria secretly frown. Ever since she got together with Caspian, he had practically handled all the cooking at home. Every dish he made used only a tiny bit of oil, and he would always add herbal ingredients that were actually good for the body. Valeria, hurry up and taste it, see how it is. Valeria picked up a piece of chicken with her chopsticks and put it in her bowl, taking a tentative bite with polite expectation, but the taste, seriously underwhelming compared to the amazing meals Caspian made. The difference was literally heaven and earth. However, facing Quentin's eagerly expectant gaze, Valeria swallowed it down anyway, smiling as she nodded. It's very delicious. Quentin finally breathed a sigh of relief. He hadn't really stepped into a kitchen since going abroad. It seemed his culinary skills hadn't regressed after all, or rather he figured she would absolutely love his cooking. After eating, they sat shoulder to shoulder, but instead of a cozy, romantic vibe, the dead silence between them actually felt totally suffocating. Valeria, why don't you just stay over tonight? Quentin finally broke the silence after a pause. He peeked at her pale legs, his eyes absolutely burning with obvious desire. His mind was racing a mile a minute. He knew that only by finally crossing that ultimate line would she completely belong to him, and after tying the knot, half of the Liu family fortune would be his. Too, fueled by pure greed, Quentin made his move. One hand slowly slid up toward her waist, but just as his fingers tried to slip right under the hem of her skirt to cross the line, boom, Valeria suddenly stood up right at that exact second. I just remembered I have some urgent business at the company, plus I probably won't be visiting you for the next little while. The Liu family just can't afford to lose Caspian right now. Let's talk later when everything is totally sorted out. Leaving him hanging, she immediately walked right out. She didn't show a single ounce of hesitation. After she left, Quentin's expression completely dropped. His face twisted with a violently heavy, bitter dose of jealousy. He had clearly noticed that her attitude toward him over the last 2 days was getting strangely cold. If he didn't make a big move soon, this whole situation would spiral totally out of his control. That damn Caspian, why couldn't that guy just play the obedient little dog? Why did he have to cause all this ridiculous drama? If it's come down to this, don't blame me for playing dirty. Fast forward to morning, Valeria strolled right into the office like nothing happened, but the second she walked in, someone immediately followed right behind her. Valeria, rumor has it you and Caspian split. Is it true? It was Clementine, her college bestie, who was now a senior vice president at the company. In public, they played the strict boss and subordinate roles, but behind closed doors, they were total besties, strolling behind her big desk To take a seat, Valeria powered on her computer and flatly replied, "Just a minor little disagreement. Give him a few days, and he'll obediently come." Crawling right back, "Now you and I need to look back at university." Caspian used to bring Valeria meals every single day, and even Clementine happily managed to mooch off his cooking. In fact, Clementine and Caspian had a pretty solid friendship. Because of this bond, she could read the toxic dynamic between that couple way. Clearer, her face shifted for a split second before she spoke. "Honestly, I think you really messed up big time here, getting a little too close to Quentin normally is one thing, but doing it on your actual engagement day and ditching the party for him, how is that any different from completely ripping Caspian's pride apart and totally stomping on it? I specifically wanted to crush his pride so he'd be entirely obedient to me. Besides, he loves me. Doesn't he?" Valeria had an insanely dominating personality because of that trait. She brutally crushed anyone who challenged her decisions. She knew Caspian's family history perfectly well, and she fully understood how desperately an orphan who lost both parents craved a real family. The guy had incredibly simple desires, which is exactly why he kept stubbornly clinging to her at this breaking point. Caspian was finally about to marry her. There was zero chance he'd give up now. Clementine knew exactly how this game worked, but you and I know human nature. They have pride. Even a loyal dog needs a bone to stick around, right? You have to toss them a bone, kick and beat them all day, and guess what? It runs away, and we're talking about a highly intelligent human being here. But Clementine knew Valeria's stubbornness all too well. Even if she laid out the brutal truth, Valeria simply wouldn't listen. It would only wreck their dynamic, so she sighed heavily and shifted gears. Yesterday, Quentin's manager begged her for an opening at the Deep Blue concert. 20 slots total. Guest singers are taking 5 of them, leaving exactly 15. Hearing those numbers, Valeria fired back without missing a single beat. Give him a slot and make sure he is scheduled for the grand finale. For Quentin, this was a total jackpot to blast his fame off the charts. Clementine was utterly stunned. Her eyes widened in pure, unadulterated shock. Give it to him, his vocals are pure garbage, putting him on that stage. You are practically begging the crowd to mock him, and worse, if he absolutely bombs, every ounce of their recent hard work flushes straight down the drain. So what if he sounds terrible? Valeria shrugged. Just pre-record it in a studio. Auto-tune the life out of it. When the concert drops, just blast the playback. He just needs to lip-sync. Clementine was instantly struck completely mute by this logic. Zero arguments left. Sure, it could work, but the blatant unfairness was insane. Valeria had completely lost it, ever since that guy Quentin showed back up. She had totally changed. Clementine turned away helplessly, walking right out. Leaving the office, there was one brutal truth she kept entirely to herself. One day, Valeria would deeply regret this, chasing her old high school crush. She was tossing aside a guy who worshipped the absolute ground she walked on. She totally forgot one rule: people change, especially after all those long years. Let's check in at Villa number 1. Aurelia strolled casually downstairs, yawning loudly. Wearing absolutely nothing but a flimsy slip dress, totally forgetting that a fully grown man lived there. Our boy, mixing herbal bath ingredients nearby, was absolutely frozen in his tracks, completely and utterly stunned stupid. Those flawless white legs, that dangerous plunge, the second his brain finally rebooted. He whipped his head away, face burning bright red. He desperately stuttered out. Pure panic mode. Why are you walking around dressed like that? What is the big deal? She teased. You already saw everything that one night. You were so bold back then. Why act all bashful and shy now? Aurelia casually sauntered closer. She pinched some of the herbal mixture on the table. Rubbing it between her fingers, she asked, "Are you sick? Need some medicine?" He shot back grumpily, "You are the sick one. This is for a bath." "A medicinal bath. Soaking in these specific herbs is insanely good for you." The Shen family definitely lacked this rare stuff, so he woke up early. Buying it fresh from an old contact, he practically soaked in it daily. Medicine can be toxic, right? So he controlled his dosage with absolute precision. You have to stick with it day after day to see the real magic. Plus, it works absolute miracles on the skin. This secret prescription was his specialty. All right, let's dive in. Carrying his freshly mixed secret formula, Caspian headed upstairs straight toward his room. Aurelia curiously tagged along right behind him. The tub was already full of hot water. Steam billowed up as the packet of rare ingredients hit the water. Instantly, the clear liquid started turning. Murky, eventually shifting into a bizarre, creepy red. It honestly looked a bit terrifying. In the past, Caspian had actually thought about letting Valeria soak in it. Unfortunately, she thought the bath water looked way too gross and dirty, and she absolutely refused. He sighed at Aurelia, who was still lingering nearby, and said flatly, "What are you still hanging around here for? Are you actually planning to watch me take a bath?" Aurelia just stared at him deadpan. "You get out, I am soaking first." Caspian was totally dumbfounded. "Wait, on what grounds? I made this bath." Seeing her totally unbothered face, a very bad feeling started bubbling up in his gut. "Don't tell me." Sure enough, the very next second, Aurelia spoke in a tone that allowed absolutely zero arguments. "This entire villa is mine, everything inside naturally belongs to me too, including you. Your stuff is basically my stuff. Now get out, I am taking a bath." Half an hour later, Aurelia emerged from the bathroom. Her snow-white cheeks were glowing, slightly flushed from the heat. The skin on her arms looked noticeably smoother and way softer. The effects of this medicinal bath completely rivaled top-tier skincare products, and the best part, zero side effects. She threw a super satisfied glance at Caspian, who was sitting on the sofa, radiating pure resentment. "Good job, little eunuch Caspian. I honestly really did not expect you to have such awesome skills. From now on, you will prepare a portion of this bath for me every single day. You are welcome. You are welcome." Yeah, right. He had never met a person with skin this unbelievably thick. 3 days flew by. The massive Deep Blue concert organized by Genesis Entertainment kicked off right on schedule. This wild concert had basically drained all of Genesis Entertainment's liquid funds. The epic stage was built in a massive stadium in the Magic City. Start time was 5 p.m. sharp, and right now the stadium was already packed wall to wall with screaming fans. Most of them came just for the famous singers Genesis had booked. The concert proceeded exactly according to the master plan. Now stick with me, because here comes Quentin's turn. Dressed in a wildly expensive custom suit, he swaggered up, looking at the massive ocean of people below, his face flushed with pure excitement. He felt a huge surge of adrenaline. Watching him step up onto that stage, Clementine just curled her lip in pure disgust. To completely auto-tune the song he was singing, the poor sound engineer had worked like an absolute dog for a whole day and night. She just prayed to the heavens nothing went wrong. Otherwise, all their exhausting hard work would be flushed right down the toilet. Just as she thought this, Quentin, firmly holding the microphone, proudly opened his mouth, but zero sound came from his actual mouth. Instead, a heavily edited voice started blasting from a tiny device clipped to his chest. "You are still sitting by the childhood bonfire, seeing the bright moon in the sky, looking exactly the same. The Big Dipper points toward your future, even in the pitch dark. You will never lose your way." The audience down below looked up slightly, feeling totally surprised. Who is this singer? It actually sounds really, really good. Quentin, how come nobody has heard of him? Quiet down, everyone. Let's focus. Listen up, because you and I are hitting the critical chorus part. Obviously, when on stage, singers pull out flashy moves to grab the crowd's attention. Quentin confidently tosses his mic high into the air, catches it flawlessly, shuts his eyes, and starts passionately faking his vocals. The lyrics: "You claim you cannot remember the words you chased in past dreams. You say you cannot see the stars sparking your fairy tale up high. Then instantly the night sky shifts, and you slice right through the dark, thorny night. Whispers echo around you. Dragging up your past, this chorus lasts about 20 seconds, but before Quentin can even finish faking it, his wireless earpiece absolutely explodes. Clementine is screaming through the comms, cursing hard enough to melt. Pure steel, you absolute idiot. You are holding the freaking mic upside down. Right then, Quentin finally realizes what a massive clown he is. Being right now, he hastily flips it over and goes straight back into his passionate lip syncing. But does he think the fans are totally blind? How could they miss that monumental screw-up? Instantly, furious screams erupt from the crowd. What the heck? Tickets cost over $700 and you serve us a lip-syncing clown show. I was literally wondering why I never knew this. Guy thought he was a rising star. Turns out he is just a total fraud. Give my money back right now. Someone perfectly recorded the whole disaster on video. People with quick thumbs already uploaded it straight to the internet. What should have been a flawless concert finale just completely blew up right in front of us. A true public relations nightmare. Industry insiders knew it was only this one guy faking his lines, but regular fans assumed the whole event was staged, and so the massive riot kicks off. Backstage, Valeria just got the complete rundown of the disaster. Her expression is pure fury. Clementine walks in right at that exact second, literally shaking with anger. I told you from the very beginning not to give him this time slot. I knew he was shaky, but I had no clue he was this completely useless. Now the whole crowd is screaming for their money back. What do? We definitely cannot refund those tickets. That is literally where all our profit comes from. If we issue massive refunds, we do not make a single dime from this show, and we actually lose tens of millions. Valeria desperately tries to manage the crisis. Stay calm, go out there immediately and handle the audience. Tell them that Quentin had a sudden vocal cord emergency, leaving him completely forced to fake it. Once his voice heals, he will prove his own talent, and as compensation, we can refund 1/5 of the ticket price. Though Clementine was beyond furious, she knows this is no time for tantrums. She quickly turns and sprints out of the room to calm the mob. Both of them know perfectly well, after this disaster, Genesis Entertainments is absolutely about to become famous in the industry, but famous for all the worst reasons. It takes until the following day for the sheer chaos to finally cool down slightly. Valeria drags her completely exhausted self back home. She opens her front door to find her father waiting on the sofa, his face completely pale with rage. He clearly already knows about last night's massive disaster. Reginald's eyes are filled with extreme disappointment. He does not hold back his brutal scolding at all. Look at what absolute masterpiece did you cook up this time? This concert drained the company's resources, and you gave us this massive, utterly ridiculous joke. Do you have any clue how many furious shareholders came crying to me? First thing today, they want you stripped of your CEO title entirely. Valeria opened her mouth but had absolutely zero defense. Honestly, she had no idea what was happening lately. Ever since Caspian left, every single thing was just failing spectacularly. Even Quentin wasn't the amazing genius she imagined him to be. Her head, and now, she couldn't even manage to get a single moment of peace at home. Right at that exact moment, Reginald suddenly grabbed his head, collapsing to the floor in pure agony. Panicking, Valeria sprinted over to hold him up. His hereditary headache was acting up again. In a total panic, she whipped out her phone and frantically dialed Caspian's number. It rang twice and connected, his familiar voice filtering through. Caspian, my dad's headache is back. Hurry up and get over here right now. The other end of the line was dead silent. A long pause before Caspian's perfectly calm voice finally replied, "Oh, and what exactly does that have to do with me? I'm not your family's personal nanny, and I am definitely not your doctor. If you're sick, visit a hospital. If they can't fix it, start picking out a nice coffin." With that cold remark, he hung up. Valeria stood totally frozen, gripping her phone. She never expected Caspian to actually speak to her like that. Wasn't it just a tiny, meaningless argument about their engagement? Looking at it from another angle, was he entirely blameless here? Why was he acting so utterly heartless? She truly never realized Caspian was such a petty, narrow-minded guy. How could someone like that ever be worthy of her? It is just a headache. Worst case, she'd just throw more money at it. Did he really think he was the only capable doctor alive? Now, watch Caspian. He just hung up the phone. Aurelia, who was sitting right next to him, eating chips and watching TV, asked ex-girlfriend, "Yeah, block her number right now," she ordered. "I strictly forbid you from having even a shred of connection with her. You are my person now, understood?" Although Caspian desperately wanted to complain, he still obediently deleted all of Valeria's contact info. He honestly had just forgotten to delete it earlier. He couldn't help but side-eye Miss Shen, who was still happily munching on chips, and asked out of pure curiosity, "Aren't you the CEO of the group? Shouldn't you be insanely busy with work? Don't you need to go to the company? There are naturally people to manage the company for me. The most vital skill of a superior leader is knowing exactly how to command others. If I'm busy working all day and can't even rest, what's the point of being the boss? Anyway, I'm thirsty. Go pour me some water." Seeing this woman bossing him around with such righteous entitlement, Caspian's face was covered in those classic dark lines. He felt like he had literally become a male nanny, refusing to spoil her. He folded his arms and let out a cold snort. "If you want water, get it yourself." "Did your legs fall off? Someone come in," Aurelia yelled toward the hallway. Outside, immediately, two massive bodyguards stomped right inside. "Miss, what are your orders?" Without a single millisecond of hesitation, Caspian stood up and marched straight over to the water dispenser by the TV. He grabbed a disposable cup and Caspian filled the cup. Then he hurried straight back to Aurelia, wearing a totally flattering smile. "Miss, please have some water," he said. "Now you and I need to clarify this." Caspian was not being a coward. He was just being exceptionally adaptable to his current situation. Exactly. Those two things have absolutely nothing to do with each other. He was just slightly intimidated. She replied, "Miss, you should be calling me wifey." Aurelia huffed lightly, grabbed the cup, and waved her hand, sending the two bodyguards away. Suddenly, Caspian's phone started ringing. Seeing the caller ID, our guy's face completely dropped. He threw up a shush gesture at Aurelia, then answered the call, speaking super carefully. "Uncle," a deep, incredibly powerful voice boomed loudly from the other end. "Took you long enough to pick up the phone? What the heck are you doing, boy?" This was none other than his dear uncle, General Gideon. Gripping the phone, Caspian let out a super awkward laugh. "Nothing much, just washing some vegetables, just dried my hands. Anyway, uncle, why did you call?" Normally, his uncle called exactly one time a month. He had already checked in at the start of the month. It had barely been a week and he was calling again. Clearly, something big was up. General Gideon's deep voice pushed through. "I have officially retired, and I will be heading to Magic City the day after tomorrow to become the new chief of police. Two old buddies of mine are tagging along. They have some lingering physical issues, so get yourself ready." Caspian replied, "If they have health issues, shouldn't they hit a hospital?" "Stop playing dumb with me." The old man let out an annoyed grunt. "Do not think I do not know you are hiding your skills, secretly practicing the Jang Family 9 Needles technique this whole time, you little punk trying to play me." "All right, that is it. We will talk more in a few days." Caspian lowered the phone with a huge, defeated sigh. The Jang Family 9 Needles was his family's ultimate heirloom acupuncture manual. His parents became absolutely famous across China strictly because of this exact book, and he was forced to practice it since he was in diapers. But publicly, he never actually practiced medicine. He just did not want to attract annoying trouble. An innocent guy gets targeted simply because of the rare treasure he holds. Now watch this. Right as that call ended, another one instantly rang through. "Holy guacamole, why are there so many calls today?" "Totally resigned," he answered, it pressing the phone against his ear. A super urgent voice panicked on the other side. Caspian, where are you right now? I just landed a massive gig, a cool $1 million payment. The guy calling was named Bart. He was Caspian's designated underground contact. Person, a broker. After graduating from university, Caspian never actually got a proper job, but everything in life needs cash, so he would secretly take on some side gigs, and no, he definitely was not selling his body. Caspian diagnosed and cured incredibly bizarre, difficult illnesses for wealthy people. He met Bart through a completely random accident. Later on, Bart became his totally exclusive middleman. If anyone wanted our MC to heal them, they absolutely had to go through Bart first. Over time, Caspian actually built up a seriously formidable reputation in the entire underground medical scene. He told Aurelia, I have to head out, do not wait up for lunch. After dropping that super quick goodbye, he stood up and left the house. Mrs. Gable, who had just gone grocery shopping, happened to be pulling up in a BMW. She watched his retreating Mercedes-Benz, walked into the villa, and asked in total confusion, Miss, why did Mr. Caspian leave? He has some business, Aurelia casually threw out. Reply, then she mysteriously waved Mrs. Gable over. Once the older woman got close, Aurelia leaned in and whispered, Mrs. Gable, do you know how to date? Mrs. Gable had already heard the bodyguard gossip about 2 days ago. Coupled with this crazy question, she was absolutely floored. Miss, you don't mean? It just made zero sense. Knowing our ice queen, she really didn't seem like the type to fall hard after just one accidental night together. At the very least, she usually studied a guy's personality first. Right then, Aurelia muttered a few soft words into her ear. Boom, Mrs. Gable suddenly had a massive light bulb moment. Ah, so that's how it is. I was seriously wondering why you, Miss, who usually freezes out strangers, would treat Mr. Caspian so specially. Gable, hurry up and tell me how to date. Aurelia desperately grabbed the older woman's arm, shaking it like a maraca. To the outside world, she always showed her icy, untouchable boss persona, but with her inner circle, a totally different story, especially with Mrs. Gable, who practically watched her grow up. She had always seen her as a beloved grandmother figure. Mrs. Gable just chuckled, stopping her frantic shaking. Thinking for a second, she dropped some serious wisdom with absolute seriousness. Miss, the old saying is true. A guy chasing a girl is like climbing a mountain, but a girl chasing a guy, like poking through thin paper. If you want to lock down Caspian completely, you really have to take the proactive offensive here. Otherwise, with a guy as top tier as Caspian, if you just keep dragging your feet, watch out. Some other girl might snatch him right up. Then what exactly do I do? Aurelia furrowed her brows tightly. Honestly, she literally had zero clues about this. Her romantic experience was a big fat zero. Otherwise, she wouldn't be begging Mrs. Gable for help. Honestly, her preferred method was straight-up kidnapping. If he refused to date her, she'd just smack him right in the face, keep smacking until he finally agreed to it. After all, she heard someone say once that some guys actually get super excited when treated rough like that. And honestly, that is completely true. Just ask the guys watching this exact recap right now. Well, that part is simple. Mrs. Gable lowered her voice and chuckled warmly. Miss, haven't you already done the deed with Mr. Caspian? So why are you two still sleeping in separate rooms? Look, even if you just put 2 beds in the same room, after a while, Caspian will naturally just get used to it. A look of profound enlightenment washed over Aurelia's face. Meanwhile, on his end, Caspian had already followed Bart into an elite private hospital. Bart was a middle-aged guy who wore glasses. As they walked down the long corridor toward the inpatient department, Bart was debriefing him on the whole situation. This rich target is going to be a tough nut to crack. Seems like a brutal hereditary headache. Nobody knows what the actual root cause is. They've hit tons of top hospitals and nothing worked. Spent massive fortune tracking me down just to find you. A headache. Walking behind him, Caspian's face instantly twisted into a really weird expression. He couldn't help but think of That weird phone call Valeria made this morning. The world is huge. It simply couldn't possibly be that much of a coincidence, right? We're here. This is the room, in front of a wildly luxurious VIP hospital suite. Bart finally stopped walking. He stepped right up and pushed open the heavy ward doors. Someone was lying on the hospital bed. 3 people stood around the bed. Hearing the noise, they all turned towards the door, faces mixing surprise and hope, but seeing Caspian walk in, Valeria completely froze. Her expression instantly collapsed, and she hissed through gritted teeth, "Caspian, what are you doing here? I said I don't need you anymore." Hearing this, Bart, acting as the middleman here, looked completely confused. "Wait, you guys know each other?" Caspian replied flatly. "This is the ex-girlfriend I mentioned. I never expected a wild coincidence like this." Hearing this exchange and linking it to Caspian's hidden background, how could Valeria not figure it out? She gasped in absolute shock. "You're the rumored Mr. Ghost Needle." Beatrice and Cedric were equally flabbergasted. They all thought Caspian was just some average university kid. At most, he had basic medical knowledge and was incredibly lucky to have a major general uncle. "You and I know better." Just then, Reginald, looking incredibly frail on the bed, started coughing violently again. Beatrice panicked. She immediately looked at Caspian, practically begging, "Caspian, hurry up and check on your dad. He had another terrible headache and now he's like this." "Ma'am, watch your words." Caspian stood at the door, his hands behind his back, tone completely icy. "Valeria and I have zero ties anymore. I'm here strictly for the paycheck. Plus, I know exactly what's wrong with him." "Bart," Caspian called out. Bart obviously knew exactly what Caspian meant. He happily stepped forward, rubbing his hands together and grinning. "Miss Liu, our rule is half up front before we even look at the patient. Of course, if it fails, we offer a full 100% refund." Valeria's eyes basically bugged out. Now, knowing this legendary ghost needle was actually Caspian, how could she stomach handing him cash? She'd just lost a massive chunk of money on that concert disaster. She even drained her own personal funds to stop the bleeding. 1 million was absolutely not a small number for her now. "Caspian, are you seriously going to be this heartless? You won't give us any face. Look, as long as you cure my dad, I'll get back together with you right now. We'll hold our engagement ceremony tomorrow. I'm completely serious this time. I am not joking around." Dropping that line, Valeria suddenly felt a massive wave of confidence. If she actually lowered her head, the old Caspian would have blindly agreed. But stick with me here, because Caspian just looked at her like she was a complete, utter idiot. "Miss Liu, there's absolutely nothing between us anymore. If you refuse to pay, then please go hire someone else, but I must warn you, with your father's current condition, if you don't find a solution soon, I'm afraid he doesn't have much time left." "Caspian, you dare curse my dad?" Cedric, packing an explosive temper, couldn't hold back anymore. He immediately launched a brutal flying kick straight at Caspian. Right then, a massive hand effortlessly shoved him and Bart out of the way. An equally brutal kick launched in return. All they heard was a pathetic, agonizing scream. When everyone finally snapped back to reality, they saw Cedric clutching his stomach, rolling on the floor in pure pain, and standing right in front of Caspian, a hulking giant, none other than it was Brutus, one of Aurelia's personal bodyguards. Caspian gasped in absolute shock. What was he doing here, stalking him? Meanwhile, Brutus slowly retracted his leg. The guy stood there like a total fortress of steel, stating completely emotionless. The miss ordered him to follow our MC if Caspian tried to run away. Brutus was instructed to tie him up and drag him back. Bart had an amazing eye for talent. He instantly realized this giant was an absolute beast in a fight. Hearing the word miss, he leaned close to Caspian's ear and whispered excitedly, "Holy guacamole, little Caspian, since when did you bag a sugar mommy? Pretty nice going, man. How could you keep such awesome news a total secret? From now on, this older bro is sticking with you. When you strike it rich, do not forget About me, Cedric, Beatrice, and Valeria quickly rushed over to check on Cedric's condition. The spot where he got kicked was already turning a nasty shade of dark purple, brutal. It was so obvious how insane the force of that kick really was. Facing Beatrice's venomous glare, Caspian just shrugged. Cedric brought that entirely upon himself, nobody else to blame. At this point, Bart also chimed right in, sounding impatient. Hey, are you guys going to pay for the treatment or not? Our boy Caspian is a very busy man, cannot afford the upfront fee, we are bouncing. And that middleman fee is completely non-refundable. Hearing this, Valeria forcibly swallowed. The boiling rage in her chest, gritting her teeth, she spat out to treat him. She pulled out her phone. Moments later, Bart's phone dinged with a bank receipt. Notification text. He instantly bloomed like a happy little flower, the agreed rule. Between him and Caspian was 2080. He easily pocketed 200 grand from this cool million. With the bag secured, you and I know Caspian wasted no breath. With nonsense, he got straight to the point. Both your father's headache and your own are actually Chi deficiency headaches, but because it involves the neural pathways, modern medical instruments cannot detect it at all. This kind of tricky condition cannot be completely permanently cured. However, through very consistent physical exercise paired with some medicinal herbal soups, the pain can be severely mitigated. Bart expertly pulled out a pen and paper from his jacket. Caspian slapped the paper flat against the wall and started scribbling down a medical prescription. Actually, it was just a standard headache prescription. He just tossed in some angelica root, prepared Romania, fleece flower root, and a few other herbs. After handing the paper over to Valeria, our guy stepped forward and started massaging the head of Reginald, who was still lying on the bed. It was not because Caspian suddenly grew a massive conscience, mostly because if he did not actually do something physical, taking that 1 million felt a bit too much like daylight robbery. Let's be real, any doctor worth their salt on the streets could easily diagnose the root cause of this family's headaches. Unfortunately, this stubborn family worshipped modern medicine exclusively and totally thought traditional Chinese medicine was pure voodoo magic, and since Western medicine relies completely on machines, they could never find the real root cause. After massaging for a few minutes, the agonizing pain on Father Lou's face noticeably relaxed. All right, from now on, just make sure he sticks to exercising, Caspian announced his leave, not wanting to stay a single second longer than necessary. Our MC turned around and left the ward alongside Bart and Brutus. Beatrice was completely shell-shocked. After a long, heavy silence, she finally muttered in a complete daze, "Mother of Pearl." From the exact second he walked into that room until he left, it had not even been 20 minutes, right? And he just casually bagged 1 million bucks just like that. This wild sequence of events absolutely electrocuted the three members of the Lou family. They had always assumed our guy was just a somewhat useful, broke college kid. Who could have ever guessed he was literally a medical god, charging 1 million per house call? Wouldn't his bank account easily hold tens or hundreds of millions? They had seriously thrown away a golden goose, comparing him to Quentin, the absolute clown who actually managed to hold a mic upside down at a concert. Valeria felt a massive, painful drop in her chest, but hey, she quickly rallied her spirits. So what if his medical skills were amazing? At the end of the day, he was still just providing a service to others. Compared to her high status, they were worlds apart. He just wanted to flex on her to win back some face today. Such a childish mindset. Give it some time, and he will absolutely come crawling right back to her. What good are healing skills if you have zero business sense, right? Does he seriously think he can easily find another sugar mommy willing to fund him? Let us catch up with our MC. He just left the hospital, planning to grab a drink with Bart, when suddenly, Brutus hoisted him right over his shoulder and started marching toward the parking lot. Our guy yelled out, "What the heck are you doing? It is lunchtime. The miss ordered me to bring you back to eat. Can't she just eat by herself? Why the heck does she have to drag him into it?" you are in charge of cooking. Oh, perfect, just perfect. So our guy has officially been demoted to the personal royal chef, huh? Having eaten and drank his fill, he let out a very satisfied burp. Mrs. Gable smiled as she gathered the dishes and headed to the kitchen. Aurelia lightly kicked his leg, her tone laced with a hint of laziness. Go upstairs and fetch my shoes. We are going to the mall. Big sister, it is literally the middle of summer. Laying at home, blasting the AC is absolute peak happiness. Hearing his brilliant logic, Aurelia just raised an eyebrow. My parents are flying back to the Magic City the day after tomorrow. Are you absolutely certain you want to meet them wearing those rags? What do you mean? Rags? He had spent a whopping $100 on those bad boys. He glared in sheer dissatisfaction, looking completely unconvinced, to which Aurelia simply dropped an absolute nuke. $100 is not rags. My cheapest skirt starts at $10K. Deafening silence. Our MC had absolutely zero comeback for that, left with no choice. He obediently trudged upstairs to fetch her shoes. Coming back downstairs, he tossed the shoes on the floor in front of the sofa. He curled his lip. Here, the shoes you wanted. Hubby, are you not going to put them on for me? Aurelia sat completely motionless on the sofa. She merely lifted her delicate snow-white foot, blinking at him with innocent doe eyes. This instantly sent a tidal wave crashing right through his heart. Mother of pearl, is she not literally trying to seduce him? For the sake of that glorious hubby title, he squatted down obediently and cupped her lifted foot. Once the shoes were on, the two of them finally left the villa, setting off toward the mall. 15 minutes later, the Rolls-Royce parked smoothly right in front of the Century Mall. Aurelia extended a she held her hand toward him. Caspian just stared, totally confused. What for? You are my husband now, she said. Shouldn't you be holding my hand? Seriously. What kind of garbage rule was that? Try refusing, and he'd probably eat a massive slap. The corner of Caspian's mouth twitched violently. He had absolutely no choice but to take her delicate hand, trying desperately to calm his wildly racing heart. Side by side, they walked into the mall. Caspian kept repeating a desperate mantra in his head. Do not catch feelings, man. You two only got that marriage certificate as a pure business deal. Once this little play ends, you go your separate ways. This woman was totally unreasonable. He absolutely could not fall into her trap, but little did our guy know, the second his background was investigated, he was completely trapped. Running away, he would rather break his own legs first, honestly, even though Caspian seemed to make serious cash from treating his patients. He had an uncle who constantly borrowed money, which basically meant that after all these years, our doctor didn't even have $1 million saved up. Because of this, whenever Caspian bought anything, he was as cheap as humanly possible. He rarely ever stepped foot inside luxury malls. Watching him look around like a curious toddler, Aurelia just sighed helplessly. She dragged him onto the elevator, heading straight to the third floor. Any clothing store scoring a spot inside the Century Mall was guaranteed to be an international luxury brand. Walking into a custom tailoring shop, the saleswoman immediately recognized Aurelia. Seeing her walk in, she quickly rushed over with fiery enthusiasm. Miss Shen, welcome. We actually just finished designing a brand new dress yesterday. Would you like to take a look? Aurelia shook her head, pointing a finger straight at the curious toddler. Standing behind her, she stated flatly, pick out 2 suitable outfits for him and custom tailor 2 full suits. Use the absolute best materials for everything. No need to spend that much, just the normal stuff is fine, Caspian quickly interjected, but one lethal glare from Aurelia shut that down fast. He was instantly too terrified to even open his mouth again. This woman was just so ridiculously bossy, but honestly, his heart was actually fluttering a little bit. His ex, Valeria, had bought him clothes before too. Yeah, exactly once in 5 whole years, and that single time was only because he got completely soaked while delivering her some food. So Valeria had dragged him to buy a change of clothes. Comparing the two of them, looking at Aurelia suddenly became 100 times more pleasing to the Caspian realized his brain must have been seriously short-circuiting back then, simping for Valeria like that. He had no clue what he was thinking. Was this the legendary love makes you clinically brain-dead phenomenon? Soon the saleswoman came walking back, bringing over 2 sets of men's clothes. They were in this sharp grayish tone, looking incredibly premium, infinitely better than the cheap rags Caspian was currently wearing. After he hit the fitting room and changed, even Aurelia's eyes totally lit up. She stepped forward, pulled him into a sudden hug, and took a deep, aggressive sniff. His masculine scent mixed with a faint herbal aroma. Honestly, it smelled exceptionally soothing. Meanwhile, on the exact opposite side of the mall, Clementine was in a genuinely terrible mood because of that botched concert. She didn't even go to work today, choosing to just wander the luxury mall all by herself, picking out and trying on pretty clothes was her ultimate designated stress relief method. After wandering around for a alright, so meanwhile, Clementine's mood actually improved a ton. She decided when she got to work she absolutely had to sit her best friend down for a real talk. She needed to convince her to dump Quentin. That guy was a total walking disaster. Completely useless, nothing but pure chaos. Keeping him around the company was literally holding a ticking time bomb. Sooner or later, he would completely bankrupt the whole group. Right while plotting all this, Clementine strolled past a designer clothing store. She casually glanced inside. Suddenly, her footsteps slammed straight on the brakes. What she saw completely dropped her jaw. Wait, isn't that Caspian? Who is he hugging? He already found a new girlfriend. This fast, inside the store, our boy Caspian had just finished trying on clothes. Snapping back to reality, Caspian quickly pushed Aurelia away, glaring at her with total high alert. You creep. Sure, he was incredibly handsome, but they were out in public. Wasn't she being way too bold? But before Aurelia could reply, a voice full of pure shock rang from the entrance. Caspian, Clementine marched right in. She greeted Caspian like an old friend, but instantly grabbed his arm, dropping her voice to a furious whisper. Hey, what is the deal with this woman? You just broke up with Valeria a few days ago, and you already found a total replacement. Now, Clementine knew full well that Valeria was still obsessed with Caspian, but what she completely missed was that Valeria actually just wanted to use his massive network. I am his wife, Aurelia snapped. Who are you? Aurelia stepped right up. She stared absolute daggers at Clementine, tightly grabbing Caspian's arm. Those freezing eyes felt like literal weapons, designed to make a person's very soul shiver. That insane aura of absolute rich kid dominance was suddenly unleashed. Without holding a single drop back, the temperature inside the boutique literally felt like it dropped 10 degrees. Totally terrified, Clementine subconsciously let go of Caspian's arm. She panicked, scrambling to explain. Please do not misunderstand. I am Caspian's old college classmate. I just spotted him and wanted to say hi. Aurelia couldn't argue with that. She just grumpily yanked Caspian right over to her side, cursing him internally. This foolish guy is in desperate need of strict training. Any random girl can just waltz right up and grab his arm. He has absolutely zero self-awareness of being her property. Now, Caspian actually wanted to introduce Aurelia to his friend as a fake girlfriend, but the tiny hand gripping his waist suddenly executed a brutal 360-degree twist. The blinding pain made Caspian change his tune instantly. Yep, this is my wife. Hearing that, Clementine's jaw basically unhinged. What wife? You just dumped Valeria less than a single week ago and you're already married. Is there literally anyone alive who operates with this kind of terrifying efficiency? She really assumed they just had a typical cute couple's spat. Never in her wildest dreams did she guess Caspian already locked down a literal wife. If Valeria found out about this mess, what would she even do? Clementine honestly just desperately wanted to sprint straight back and tell her best friend this news. She quickly faked a random excuse and just bolted. Once Clementine vanished, Aurelia aggressively smacked Caspian on the backside with a huge thwack. Oh, our guy was furious. He glared directly at her. Why did you hit me? You completely deserved it, seeing Aurelia. Looking so incredibly smug and self-righteous, Caspian's temper completely snapped. He immediately started cracking his knuckles. Woman or not, you do not want to. All right, you and I are jumping right in. Caspian smugly warned her to apologize right now, and he might just spare her life. Meanwhile, two saleswomen were hiding behind the counter, furiously whispering to each other. Oh my gosh, Miss Shen's boyfriend is incredibly manly. They totally thought their young miss would prefer those soft little puppy types for sure. But then they remembered something wild. Her bodyguards mentioned that Miss Shen actually won the National Martial Arts Championship back in college. After that, she focused purely on business. This handsome guy sounds so bold, they thought. He must possess some serious fighting skills too. Even though they were whispering super softly, the boutique was completely dead silent. Caspian heard their entire conversation loud and clear. The corner of his mouth twitched so hard it nearly cramped. He stared at Aurelia, standing right in front of him. Her face had already turned dangerously, murderously dark. National Martial Arts Champion. That had to be a fake bootleg title, right? He did not hesitate for a single second. Eyes wide with pure terror, he spun around and bolted toward the store exit like his life literally depended on it. Are you kidding? With his scrawny little frame, he could barely handle normal people at best. If this terrifying lady was a national martial arts champion, she could easily pin him to the floor and mop the tiles with his face using just 1 foot. Of the 36 strategies, fleeing was best. Run, Aurelia, with a face like thunder, whipped out her phone and furiously called her bodyguards. Tie that man up for me right now, she ordered. Get a stick ready. Meanwhile, Clementine had sprinted back to the company at absolute light speed. Valeria, awful news, she just ran into Caspian at the mall. He had some woman with him, claiming she was his wife. Valeria rejected the idea without a second thought. A wife, totally impossible. He had been with her for years. She knew his personality flawlessly. In popular internet slang terms, he was the ultimate simp. They were only fighting right now because he made her completely lose face at their engagement ceremony. It wouldn't be long before his anger faded, and he obediently came crawling right back. Clementine insisted she was completely serious. Look, she even had a picture of them hugging. Clementine knew Valeria wouldn't believe it, so she had secretly snapped a quick photo at the mall. Valeria absolutely froze, staring at the familiar face in the picture and the stunning woman beside him, who was undeniably prettier and had way more presence than she did. Her chest tightened painfully. Caspian, I thought you truly loved me, she thought. Turns out he was secretly fooling around with another woman behind her back all along. She was such a massive joke. Standing next to her, even Clementine had to suppress the strong urge to brutally roast her internally. She didn't exactly have the right to say that, did she? Valeria had a boyfriend, yet still ran over to a male celebrity's house every single day, but Clementine didn't dare say that out loud, even though her bestie had completely lost the plot when it came to romance. She was still pretty good too. Valeria angrily reached out her hand toward Clementine. Give me your phone now. I am calling Caspian. He completely blocked me. Left with no choice, Clementine handed her phone over. She could not help but ask, Valeria, do you not think things are fine the way they are right now? Let's just stop bothering them. Caspian has a family now, and you get to be with Quentin. Isn't that a win-win for everyone? But you and I know Valeria could never let it go. Her massive concert was a catastrophic failure. Countless furious shareholders were currently trying to impeach her and swap the CEO with their own guy. Plus, the Wu family's long-standing grip was getting way too bold about cutting Genesis Entertainment's funding resources. She desperately needed some heavy backing to survive, and his uncle was exactly that power. But since our MC was totally out of her control now, she had zero choice. She had to cash in on that one massive favor she'd never touched before, a literal life-saving debt. But get this, the phone rang and rang for seriously long time, and absolutely nobody answered. Meanwhile, in some creepy deserted clearing in the Magic City suburbs. Now stick with me here. Our guy was tied up like a Christmas ham, tossed into a deep dirt pit. Brutus and Titus were grunting hard, shoveling dirt right in. Aurelia just squatted by the edge, staring down at him with pure, intense amusement. What's wrong? Weren't you acting all tough back at the mall over all these years? Nobody had ever dared to scream at her like that. If it were anyone else, I'd have fed them to the South African lions by now, but burying you alive. That seems like a pretty fun option, too, watching that dirt pile grow higher. And higher. Our MC had zero choice. He begged for his life. Big sister, spare me. You're not a creep at all. My stupid mouth was just running wild. You are a massively wonderful person. From here on out, this lowly servant will follow your every single command. Hearing this, Aurelia finally let out a harsh, cold snort. Pull him up and don't fill the pit completely. We might need it for next time. The very next day, it was officially meet the parents' day. He was sleeping like a rock when suddenly brutally heavy slap landed straight on his butt. The sheer pain jolted him completely. Awake, his eyes snapped open, revealing a 1.9-meter tall, heavily muscled, middle-aged man just looming by the bed. His face was covered in scruffy stubble, rocking a classic rugged square jaw. Our guy instantly deflated. Why are you here? He hadn't even told the guy that he and Valeria broke up, even the fact that he was crashing at Aurelia's place was a massive secret. He stared up, asking in absolute, total confusion. Wait, uncle, how did you even find this place? I asked your uncle to come over. Aurelia's voice drifted right in from the doorway. His uncle looked at them with a seriously complicated expression. I honestly never expected you two little brats to actually end up together in the end. Is this what people call destiny? Our guy was totally lost in the sauce here. What the heck did that even mean? His uncle frowned. You didn't know, you and Aurelia literally have an arranged marriage agreement. You two moved in together, so I just assumed you already knew. He was thoroughly, completely dumbfounded. He stared at Aurelia in absolute, utter disbelief. She just smiled so sweetly and held his gaze. You and I know what this means. Did their fake marriage just become real? Then Mrs. Gable's voice echoed from downstairs. Madam and the master are back. His uncle spun around, muttering, that guy, the one named Shen, is back. I've got to go take a good look at him. Then he roared at his nephew. Get up right now. You're grown man, why the heck are you still sleeping in? I should have tossed you into the military camp to get drilled properly back then. After lecturing him hard, his uncle turned and stormed out. He dragged himself out of bed, got dressed, and washed up. He noticed a missed call on his phone, completely ignored it, and headed straight downstairs. In the small courtyard of the massive villa, Aurelia's father, Sterling, had a face completely full of pure suspicion. Why is a massive brute like you inside my daughter's house? His uncle curled his lip. I came to see my nephew-in-law. You sneaky old fox, you're still looking as flimsy as the wind. Oh, who is an old fox like you? These two elders immediately started bickering the exact second they met. Aurelia's mother, Serenity, walked over and gently rubbed Caspian's head. She smiled and said, if it isn't little Caspian, haven't seen you in years and you are still as handsome as ever. He looked at Aurelia in total confusion. Let us find out what was going on. Did they know each other? The past. Turns out Caspian's dad saved Sterling's life back then. His mom was pregnant with him at the time, and Auntie Serenity was pregnant too, so the family set up an arranged marriage. But after the tragic car crash, the engagement was basically left hanging. After his parents passed away, his uncle took him far away from the Magic City. They did not come back until high school, after he met Valeria. His uncle never brought up the arranged marriage thing. He never expected they would actually end up living together. Caspian leaned close to Aurelia's ear and whispered, big sister, we are in a fake marriage. Once we trick your parents, we go our separate ways, right? Aurelia put on a look of total innocence. Hubby, what are you talking about? I do not understand. Having finally scammed him into her hands, how could she possibly let him run away? Serenity looked at Caspian with incredibly affectionate eyes. I was originally worried she would get scammed by Some bad guy, but seeing that it is you, little Caspian, Auntie can finally put her heart at ease. Aurelia immediately corrected her. It is hubby, we have already gotten our marriage certificate. This made Serenity even more ecstatic about our guy. Mrs. Gable smiled and said, let us head inside first. Lunch is almost ready, his uncle said proudly. I will let you off the hook today, you old fox. Little Caspian, hurry up and help cook. After we eat, come to the hospital with me. Oh boy, Caspian absent-mindedly walked toward the kitchen. A fake marriage actually turned into a real one. Does that not mean from now on, thinking back to what happened that night, he could only sigh and accept his new identity? Who told him to get gobbled up already anyway? He vaguely remembered knowing Aurelia when they were little, but back then, she was just a whiny little girl who loved to act spoiled. After his parents died, he refused to think about the past, so that entire memory slowly faded away into absolute nothingness. Since there were a lot of people today, Mrs. Gable had bought a ton of groceries. Father Shen and the others were chatting in the living room. Let us watch Caspian washing the vegetables. Aurelia walked in to help. She said casually, sticking with me, you will not lose out. I will never be like your ex-girlfriend. She is way too greedy. Karma will get her eventually. Plus, I can do household chores too, see. Watching her aggressively scrubbing a piece of cilantro, it was completely and glaringly obvious she never stepped foot inside a kitchen. He said, let me just wash the vegetables, you go cook the rice. How much rice should I put? Just one pot. Like this, I meant cook enough for one pot, not dump the entire bag of rice into the pot. She glared at him. Are you yelling at me? His soul was tired. Just destroy him already. Getting stuck with a wife like this. Did he owe the entire Milky Way galaxy money in his past life? After lunch, his uncle dragged him to the internal medicine department of the Magic City People's Hospital. An ENT doctor was currently examining a patient named Maverick. The doctor stared intently at the medical report with a deeply troubled frown. He said it might be nerve-related. The doctors called it tinnitus but had no real answers. Daily life, fine. But not enough to ruin his routine, so they suggested traditional Chinese medicine. Maverick's situation was totally different. The guy was a sniper. Tinnitus, a literal career killer. A complete dead end. Then my uncle's voice practically shook the room. I brought TCM doctor right here. And just like that, he yanked me inside the room. On the way over, I had already gotten the full rundown on Maverick's exact condition. He was caught in a grenade blast. That is what caused the ringing and the random deafness. See, my uncle was his commanding officer. He knew this guy was his absolute best, most gifted soldier. He couldn't just stand by and watch his career die over some hearing loss, so he dragged him everywhere searching for a cure. Seeing how young I was, the hospital doctor looked seriously skeptical. Real medicine isn't just some kid's game. TCM takes decades to actually master. Are we totally sure this kid can pull this off? I didn't even bother arguing with him. I just told Maverick to lay flat on the bed. Then I whipped out 2 hair-thin silver needles from my belt. The doc and Maverick just watched me in total silence. I gave Maverick a quick set of instructions. Open your mouth, let out sound, pinch your nose, breathe out through it. 1, 2, 3, open, exhale. Perfect. Less than 10 minutes later, I packed away my needles. My uncle just stared at me, completely suspicious. That is it. You are done. Are you trying to scam us right now? I stayed totally calm. It wasn't a huge deal anyway. I just used the needles to wake up the nerves, that is all. I smirked. My standard fee is 500 grand, half off for you, 250,000, cash or card. My uncle's eyes completely bugged out, and he slapped me brutally hard right on the butt. Son of a gun, you really asking your own uncle for money? Honestly, he practically sent his whole paycheck to the families of his fallen squad mates. So yeah, he was always dead broke, but he was a man who commanded absolute respect. Maverick, how are you feeling? General Gideon asked, sounding genuinely worried. Maverick replied in total shock. Boss, I can hear everything perfectly now. The guy stared at me with pure hype, literally looking like he wanted to tackle me into a massive bear hug. Bro, from today on, you are my blood brother. Whoa, chill. Chill, man, I am not into guys. I backed up a step. Just do the exercises I taught you 30 times a day. Do that for a solid month if you still feel weird after that. Come find me. Maverick nodded like crazy. The Western doctor standing nearby just sighed in pure awe. The magic of Hua country's ancient medicine is just profound and totally unfathomable. I figured my free charity shift for the day was officially over. I turned and waved. Catch you later, uncle. You guys talk. I am out. General Gideon nodded. Get going. Your aunt arrives in the Magic City in 2 days. Little pixie really misses you a lot. Don't forget to come over for dinner. But right out in the exact same corridor, I walked straight into Valeria. She was holding up her grandma, heading right for the elevator. Alongside that guy Quentin, grandma's leg was acting up again. Doctors recommended surgery, but it was way too risky. Grandma Gertrude was complaining loudly. Get Caspian down here. Tell him to use his needles on me. Who cares if you two broke up? Doesn't that boy have any respect? Valeria just stood there hesitating. All right, watch this. Quentin's sharp eyes lock onto Caspian immediately. He shouts in surprise. Isn't that Caspian? Perfect timing. Let's get him to look at grandma right now. Treat her. Hearing that garbage, Caspian is literally hit with a massive wave of speechlessness. He just stares at Quentin, Valeria, and that awful grandma, Gertrude, our MC literally. Cannot believe he ran into this absolute circus just by stepping into a hospital. Caspian has zero positive feelings left for this toxic family, especially toward this entitled old bat. Grandma Gertrude speaks up, sounding just as arrogantly self-righteous as ever. Caspian, my leg is acting up again. Hurry up and treat it. You lived off my Lou family for years. You broke up and now you think you can just run away. Hurry up and get those broken needles of yours and poke me. Quentin chimes right in with a mocking smirk. Yeah, Caspian. Hurry up and check on grandma. After all, this is basically the only useful skill you even possess. These two are throwing non-stop insults to put Caspian down. He shoots a quick glance at Valeria, who stays completely silent. Then he looks at Quentin and sneers right back. Well, my only useful skill is still infinitely better than a certain someone's fake lip-syncing clown show at that concert. The one still trending on the top searches right now. Much respect, so much respect. Quentin's face instantly turns the color of a badly bruised eggplant. But with the grandma standing right there, he cannot even throw a tantrum. He can only shoot Caspian a venomous glare, burning that bitter grudge deep inside. Our guy then. Now watch this. Caspian turns to the old lady, crossing his arms. I can treat you, but my fee starts at a minimum of 1 million. Pay up and I treat you instantly. Hearing that price tag, the old lady points a shaking finger and absolutely explodes. You ungrateful little wretch. It is literally just 2 pokes with it needle and you dare demand money. Have you completely forgot who took you in? After graduation, truly a bastard with 0 parents, absolutely no upbringing at all. The second those toxic words leave her mouth, before Caspian can even react, a thunderous roar erupts from nearby, completely startling everyone in the room. You nasty old hag. What the heck did you just say? Caspian looks over. It is his uncle. He had just finished thanking the doctor with Maverick and was about to find a nice place to grab a drink. He never expected to hear this crazy bat saying something so vile to his nephew. How could he hold back? His hulking frame closes the distance. Seconds and boom, a direct, brutal backhand slap to her face. The old lady crashes onto the floor instantly. You dare hit me, a trail of bright red blood seeps right from the corner of the old lady's mouth. It looks pretty horrifying. The bystanders watching this crazy drama unfold are just completely stunned. This is where it gets wild for us. Gideon pulls out a handgun, aiming it right at the old lady, sneering. I hit you, so what? You want me to treat you to a lead bullet? Seeing this, Quentin is so terrified his legs basically turn into jelly. Valeria hastily shields her grandma, tightly gritting her teeth. As she yells, carrying a firearm is illegal. You are committing a serious crime. General Gideon casually, and so unhurriedly, pulls out his official military firearm permit. Everyone goes instantly silent. Caspian quickly scurries right over to his uncle's side and whispers, "Uncle, you are about to be deputy mayor," pulling a gun out. Here is not exactly a great look, is it? His uncle just curls his lip in utter. Gu scoffs, so what? He hasn't even taken office yet, worst case. He gets fired, no big deal. His nephew can just pay his bills. Watch this, Maverick steps up, clapping hard to grab the entire crowds. Attention, he barks with total authority. You guys can film this, but do not twist the facts, and absolutely do not post it anywhere. Online, this cranky lady insulted a military family first. That is a fact. General Gu only stepped up to drop a warning. Right then, Samian yells from the back. That old hag had a garbage attitude from the start. She even cursed at that poor guy. Immediately, the rest of the crowd starts agreeing. General Gideon just holsters his weapon, shooting Grandma Gertrude an absolutely freezing glare. If I catch you speaking that kind of trash again, it won't end nicely like today. Watch your mouth or I will personally lock you up. With that, he grabs Caspian and turns away. Let's go. Nephew, the nosy crowd finally clears out. Quentin stands there, his face completely dark. Gertrude violently shoves him back. She had been watching her future son-in-law very closely. She snaps in pure disgust. I don't need a worthless coward helping me out. Look at you, the second real trouble. Hits, you're literally shaking in terror. You're not even half the man Caspian is. What did Valeria even see in a spineless wimp like you? Spitting those words. She starts limping toward the surgery wing, but after just 2 steps, she runs completely out of breath. She whips her head back, screaming at Quentin furiously. Why are you just standing there like a total idiot? Hurry up and help me walk. You have zero situational awareness. Quentin is so furious he almost explodes on the spot, but remembering the Liu family's massive wealth, he chokes down his pride, plastering on a fake smile. He hurries over. Meanwhile, just as Caspian steps out the hospital's front doors, he hears a familiar voice calling from behind. Caspian, wait a second. He turns around. It is actually Valeria. Caspian stops dead in his tracks, asking her coldly, "Do you still need something?" Once upon a time, he truly loved Valeria. But that was the old her, not this greedy, profit-obsessed toxic woman. Valeria hesitates for a long moment before finally speaking up. It is about what happened 9 years ago. Now we finally see the tragic backstory. Caspian was just a high school freshman then. He had just moved back to the city, a place drowning in memories of his late parents. The heavy grief was so intense he actually wanted to jump into the river and end it all. But right at that moment he jumped, someone grabbed his arm. On that foggy gray night, he heard a voice cut through the dark. Why don't you think about how to actually make the people who care about you happy, you absolute coward? When he finally woke up, he was staring at a hospital ceiling. Valeria was the one who called for help. From that day forward, he fell for her. He started pursuing her, but memory playback over. Caspian looks at Valeria now, completely understanding why she is bringing this up right now. He takes a deep breath, his voice totally calm. This is the absolute last time I will help you. Once this mess is settled, you and I will have zero connection forever. With those heavy words, Caspian turns around and walks right away. Valeria just stares at his retreating back with highly complicated emotions. As Caspian completely disappeared from view, she headed back to the hospital, feeling totally hollow inside. Not regret, though. It was just the painful realization that she just let a flawless, ultimate asset slip right through her fingers. Meanwhile, returning to Panlong Villa, Caspian spotted Serenity relaxing on the living room sofa, gripping a massive catalog. She smiled warmly and waved him right over. Caspian, you are back just in time. Come look and tell me which wedding dress suits Aurelia best. Since you two already signed the legal papers, we Might as well hold the actual wedding early. I want grandkids soon, Aurelia just sat nearby, a tiny smirk playing on her lips. Caspian barely took a seat and glanced at the heavy catalog, pages stuffed with every wedding dress imaginable. He honestly had zero clue what to pick, so he played it smart. She looks beautiful in absolutely anything. Serenity burst into joyful laughter. You sweet talker. The perfect husband for our Aurelia. After catching up for a bit, Serenity dragged Sterling out for grocery shopping. Caspian slid right over to Aurelia, quickly starting to massage her shoulders. He laid on the charm super thick. Hey, wifey. Could you do me one tiny little favor? Aurelia stayed completely calm, casually patting his head. Speak, but a few seconds later, Caspian was pinned to the floor. Trapped under her foot, she pointed straight at his face, her expression turning totally dark. Absolutely terrifying. You seriously want me to help your ex, believe it or not, I will chop you into 8 pieces right now, Caspian frantically explained. The whole crazy situation. Sure, he could have just asked his powerful uncle for help, but the guy was about to become deputy mayor. Honestly, it just was not right to bother him with petty drama. Stick with me here, left with no choice. Caspian could only beg Aurelia. Business conflicts need actual business people. Right after hearing his whole explanation out, Aurelia let slip a highly intrigued smile. Interesting, fine then, I will go with you tomorrow, but wait. How exactly will you thank me? Talking about compensation now. Caspian scratched his head. Super awkwardly, we are literally married. One tiny favor. She held up 2 fingers, smiling with profound meaning. Listen, my parents are staying here for a while. Sleeping in separate rooms would look pretty bad, right? I mean, who sleeps in different rooms right after getting legally married? Caspian's entire face immediately flushed bright red. He nodded. I am cool with it if you are. Then came condition number 2. Hand over every single penny that you have ever earned. Caspian instantly widened his eyes in pure protest. Your family has tens of billions, and you still want my tiny, meager savings? Aurelia shot back with absolute boss energy. Men with money always slip totally out of control. You get an allowance now, 500,000 a whole month. Utterly defeated, Caspian transferred his entire life savings, 300,000 straight over to her. She looked completely confused. He asked with pure excitement, hey wifey, when does my huge monthly allowance hit the account? She angrily ruffled his hair, scolding him furiously. Did you hide a secret stash somewhere? How is it even possible you only saved 300,000 over all these years? Caspian rubbed his nose, proudly stating, my uncle borrowed it. That is all I have left. Over the years, his uncle had borrowed roughly 10 million from him, piece by piece, and absolutely all of it went to support the families of his fallen brothers in arms. Meanwhile, downstairs, Genesis Entertainment Building, the red carpet is completely decked out with vibrant flower baskets on both sides. Banners are fluttering wildly in the wind, saying, Welcome VIP. Senior VP Clementine is actually out here personally supervising the whole setup. You can see the intense excitement totally written on her face. Fix that crooked basket, pull the banner higher. She is making sure everything is perfect. Because today decides if their company survives. Look alive, everyone, she yells. If we lock down this investment, every single one of you gets a bonus. Huge stakes, right? That is because the second she clocked in today, massive news dropped. The Century Group, a company worth tens of billions, actually wants to invest. Meanwhile, inside the CEO's office, Valeria summons Genesis Entertainment's absolute top stars, 5 of their highest tier elites in total, and yeah, that includes Quentin. She runs through the strict protocols, looking right at him. Quentin, she says, you are standing front and center to personally welcome CEO Shen to the building. This is a massive opportunity, do not waste it. Quentin nods, dripping with arrogance. Relax, I have got this. The other 4 stars standing there are definitely not thrilled. They are secretly fuming, but nobody dares to speak up against him at all. Because the guy has some serious backstage backing, Valeria checks her watch quickly. It is time, head down, welcome them and play it smart, the 5 stars. Nod and walk out. Now she is left totally alone, rubbing her exhausted temples. She looks so drained. She knows exactly what is driving this sudden Century Group investment. It is definitely tied straight to Caspian, but still. She cannot shake this deep, heavy regret. She really wanted to use him better. Her mind drifts back to a specific night, exactly 9 years ago. She was out jogging in the dark when she found him completely passed out on the road and called for help. When Caspian woke up, he thanked her for saving his life. But here is the crazy part. Someone else actually rescued him first. She just chose to hide it. She shakes her head, trying to comfort herself. She is probably the only person on Earth who actually knows the real truth. That original savior would never just suddenly pop back up out of nowhere, right? Meanwhile, time is ticking outside the building. You and I can see the Genesis executives and employees watching the street with bated breath. Down the road, a low-key but absolutely stunning, overwhelmingly luxurious Rolls-Royce Cullinan slowly rolls up. Quentin is standing front and center, completely trembling with hype. This is the eldest heiress of a massive, multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. If he can just charm her, his entire career blasts straight into the stratosphere. The car finally stops. He adjusts his collar, stepping up. The second that car door swings open, he drops into a perfect 90-degree bow. "Welcome, CEO Shen," he booms loudly. "Welcome to our humble company," but the voice replying back is way too familiar. It drips with pure sarcasm. "Wow, I cannot accept such a massive bow. People might actually think a son is bowing down to his own daddy." Quentin snaps his head up, completely stunned. "Caspian, why the hell is it you? Where is CEO Shen?" But before Caspian can speak, someone shoves him aside. Aurelia steps out of the car, rocking an elegant dark dress and sharp heels. Her face, cold, exquisitely beautiful, and her aura is just screaming absolute power. High society power. Quentin totally froze on the spot. Valeria noticed his panic and felt this sharp sting of annoyance in her chest, but she stayed totally quiet. You and I can tell she was burning with absolute jealousy while staring right at Aurelia. Meanwhile, Caspian glared hard at Aurelia. He wasn't even finished with his epic lines yet. What was she doing? Aurelia completely ignored him. She casually swept her eyes across the room, finally locking onto Valeria, smiling way too sweetly. She reached out her hand. "You must be CEO Lau. First time meeting. I'm Aurelia, and this guy right beside me is my assistant." "Wait, I mean hubby. You two are already pretty familiar, right? So I won't even bother introducing him." Valeria's heart violently dropped. She forcefully shoved down those wild emotions spinning inside her. She politely shook Aurelia's hand, forcing a fake smile. "I've heard so much. Welcome to our company, CEO Shen." Now, many Genesis employees had seen Caspian around before. Now watch this. Hearing Aurelia drop that bomb, everyone was completely speechless. Wait, wasn't this guy their CEO's boyfriend? How did he just instantly become the husband of this mega boss? Valeria's heart just sank to the absolute bottom. She knew Aurelia was claiming massive dominance right out of the gate, but she had zero choice. She reached out and shook it. Right after that, Brutus stepped right up, handing over a perfectly clean handkerchief in front of literally everyone. Aurelia coldly used the cloth to meticulously wipe the hand that just touched Valeria. Then she casually tossed it on the floor. "My apologies, CEO Lau. I'm actually a germaphobe. You don't mind, right?" "Not at all." Valeria managed a painfully tight smile. Her fists were shaking, but she didn't dare act up. She absolutely couldn't afford to cross Aurelia right now. If she could just secure the investment, she could swallow any insult. But honestly, she was also slightly confused inside. Caspian actually knew someone like Aurelia. If she had known he possessed that kind of insane power before, she never would have treated him like absolute trash before. They kept walking into the Genesis Entertainment building. Following the planned schedule, they arrived at the practice studio. Clementine quickly signaled two talented female trainees to start their vocal performance, but honestly, Aurelia showed absolutely zero interest. She casually scanned the practice room until her eyes finally landed right on Quentin. The corner of her mouth slowly curled up into a wicked smirk. You must be CEO Lu's newest boyfriend, right, to be chosen by a genius boss like her. You must be pretty amazing, so why don't you show off your ultimate skill for us? The corner of Quentin's mouth violently twitched. If he actually had real talent, would he be hiding in the corner right now? He nervously scratched his head and forced a weird laugh. I'm afraid my skills are basically zero. I wouldn't dare show off in front of CEO Shen. Our company has plenty of real stars who sing beautifully. Why don't we let I told you to perform, so do it. Are you deliberately disrespecting me? Aurelia's voice was pure ice. Her entire attitude was super aggressive, leaving absolutely zero room for refusal. Sitting beside her, Caspian felt real warmth. You and I know she was standing up for him right there. She acted like a villain, but deep down But someone here actually had a decent heart. Watch this. Quentin finally stepped up and grabbed the mic. Usually, this guy hid behind his powerful backstage backer. He hogged every resource and ordered the girls around like an absolute tyrant. But now, the girls finally got to watch him make a complete joke of himself. They were absolutely loving it. A few even pulled out their phones to record. Meanwhile, Quentin stammered helplessly for ages. Finally, his voice trembling, he looked at the crowd. I'll do a song I actually know. The assistant hit play. Here's the thing. Quentin couldn't hold a tune to save his life. He was strictly an actor, so with zero backup track to hide behind, he picked the only song he barely knew. The exact same track he practiced years ago when he confessed his feelings to Valeria. And honestly, it was still pure agony the very second he opened his mouth. Completely horribly off pitch, 3 agonizing minutes later, Quentin scurried straight back to his chair, his face burning bright red. His reputation was officially flushed right down the drain today. Watching this, our guy dropped a totally sarcastic remark. So, this is your talent, huh? When you were flexing downstairs earlier, I genuinely believed you were a vocal genius. Now I see the standard for singers is completely buried underground. Valeria just couldn't take it anymore. She swallowed her raging fury, glared straight at Aurelia and snapped, shouldn't we start discussing the actual business now? Sure, let's move this conversation somewhere totally private to chat. The idols and artists were quickly dismissed. Just a handful of elite executives from Genesis Entertainment tagged along to the boardroom, but at the entrance, Aurelia ordered everyone to stay outside. Our guy. I hate making things complicated. CEO, you step inside with me. Everyone else waits right here. He tried to sneak in behind them, but Aurelia planted a brutal kick right on his backside. You wait outside too. Once the heavy doors slammed shut, our MC rubbed his bruised ego, picking himself off the floor, muttering with total frustration, what are you all staring at? Don't you realize getting kicked means she likes me? He complained to himself. This crazy woman gives me zero respect. Mark my words, I'll definitely discipline her perfectly, otherwise she'll never figure out who really runs this house. Meanwhile, inside the room, Valeria slapped down the contract. She finally felt a massive surge of relief wash over her. After all, since she supposedly saved Caspian's life, getting this deal signed should be completely guaranteed. Except Aurelia had literally zero plans to sign a single page. Instead, she asked, Valeria, word is you saved Caspian back in the day. I'm super curious. How exactly did that go down? Valeria flinched, visibly shocked, but quickly recited the fake little fairy tale she memorized, detailing how she grabbed Caspian right as he was about to jump into the freezing river and rushed him to the hospital, but the smile instantly vanished from Aurelia's face. Staring ice cold into Valeria's soul, she asked, is that what actually happened? Under that terrifying glare, Valeria started sweating bullets. But she forced a calm smile. I really have no idea what you're trying to suggest, and then bam, Aurelia snatched that contract and brutally slammed it straight into Valeria's face. Her tone dropped down to absolute zero. You lie. So flawlessly, you steal another woman's guy and don't even treat him right. I kept wondering how he could ever fall for a shameless, thick-skinned snake like you, and you actually dare to use this mess to force his help. So why don't you just drop dead, following Aurelia's absolutely brutal verbal takedown? Valeria turned totally pale. She could not even form a single word. Was it possible that Aurelia was the one who actually saved Caspian back then? Oh yeah, the girl who pulled Caspian from that bridge years ago was none other than Aurelia herself. She remembered being completely desperate to find him that night, only to catch him right on the edge. After pulling him back, she stormed off in absolute anger because he broke their promise, but she never in a single million years guessed Valeria would swoop right in and steal all the credit. Later, when Aurelia saw Caspian actually liked Valeria and started chasing her, she completely stopped trying to find him. If she had realized from day one that Caspian's feelings for Valeria were built completely on that stolen rescue, she would have totally tied him up and dragged him home that exact night. No matter what, then this whole massive, insanely stupid misunderstanding would have never happened. Right now, Aurelia stared at Valeria with a freezing, absolute glare. Pure ice, her voice cut deep. You are totally unworthy of him. You do not even deserve a tiny fraction of his greatness. That absolute idiot from before suits you so much better. After all, trash pairs perfectly with a thief. As for today, you better take this secret and let it rot inside you forever, if you ever dare let him find out. Aurelia's tone turned insanely calm. She stared at Valeria like she was looking at total garbage, spelling out every single word. I will make sure your Liu family never sees one peaceful day ever again. With that, she gave a cold scoff and marched right out. Now, stick with me here because outside, Caspian was quite literally just standing there thinking about his dinner when he suddenly saw Aurelia storm out, radiating pure murderous energy. Completely confused, he quickly jogged to catch up. Why do you look so incredibly mad right now? What happened? Are you completely mute? But Aurelia just angrily launched a swift kick straight at his backside. She glared right at him, looking like she was ready to throw down. Absolutely terrified, Caspian turned and bolted away. Then Quentin dashed right into the conference room. The contract is basically signed, right? I made a total fool of myself out there. You really cannot ignore my hard work. Valeria was completely broken inside. She just wanted to be totally alone. She literally screamed in pure rage. Get out, just let me have peace and quiet. Clementine instantly realized her best friend was having a complete meltdown. She quickly dragged Quentin out of the room. Quentin aggressively ripped away his arm. Valeria is just in a bad mood. Are you blind? Clementine snapped back with absolutely zero mercy. I seriously have no clue what she actually sees in you. You have absolutely zero awareness and literally zero actual talent. Caspian was just so much better. He cooks perfectly. His medical skills are top tier and he never causes any extra stress. She sighed deeply, turned around and simply walked away. Quentin was absolutely furious. What the heck do you actually mean by that? How am I totally useless? The other executives stood by, enjoying the free comedy show. You and I know the truth. A guy who literally lives off a woman actually thinks he has real talent. Leaving Genesis. All right, you and I are diving back in. Caspian and Aurelia hit the cinema. She clung to his arm, her face completely blank. She told him everything you did with Valeria while you two dated. Starting right now, you must do it all with me. Whatever she had, I want, and whatever she never got, I must have too. Caspian just smirked. Well, she never knelt for me, will you? Before the poor guy could even finish, a massive slap had already landed perfectly on his cheek. Fact check, absolutely never, ever provoke a woman who is drowning in pure jealousy. Otherwise, you are getting a free, very permanent handprint tattoo. Meanwhile, after the morning drama, Valeria Lost absolutely all her drive to work. She handed the company business over to Clementine to handle, giving herself some much-needed time to just cool off. First thing Clementine did as the new boss, she completely stripped Quentin of his resources, handing them out equally among the other artists. Quentin was so furious he literally stormed into her office shouting, "If you actually had talent, you would not lose a thing, but since you have zero talent and just hog space without actually working, then I am extremely sorry. Roll away as far as you can." Without Valeria acting as his human shield, Quentin could not even hold his head high anymore, boiling. With pure rage, he retreated to his office, making desperate phone calls to call sketchy backup. Now watch this. He wanted to teach Caspian a brutal lesson. "Mr. Quentin, your request is pretty risky. After all, Caspian is tied to the Shen family. You have to pay extra for that trouble." "How much?" $5 million. "We will kidnap the guy exactly as requested and force him to film some scandalous videos with female models. By then, his precious reputation will be completely ruined." Quentin gritted his teeth hard. "Fine, I will pay $5 million, haha." "Then wait for our good news, Mr. Quentin." Next morning, a cold breeze blew through, waking Caspian up with a shiver. He quickly hugged the giant heat pack in his arms tighter. He opened his eyes and holy smokes, this was no heat pack. It was the fragrant, soft Aurelia, curled right up in his arms like a lazy kitten, sleeping so soundly. Caspian just sighed deeply. They agreed to split the bed 50-50, but now it had totally become the sovereign territory of the Aurelia Empire. She was incredibly demanding, even in her sleep. To prevent a certain morning situation from escalating, he tucked her in and bolted for the bathroom to wash up. Crisp white shirt paired with a fresh, perfectly styled haircut. Looking in the mirror, Caspian smiled in absolute, undeniable satisfaction. He truly was the most handsome guy in the country. After quickly getting ready, he rushed to the airport to grab his aunt and little cousin. The plane touched down at Magic City Airport. Suddenly, Caspian heard a childish, super high-pitched scream. Big bad demon brother, a tiny girl wearing a pink backpack, charged at him like a missile, followed closely behind by Aunt Josephine in an elegant long dress. The little kid launched herself straight into his arms and yelled, "Did you miss Pixie?" Caspian threw on a highly disgusted expression. "Who would miss you, you little fatty? You got heavier." Pixie waved her tiny fists, fiercely protesting. "Pixie is not chubby," he laughed, taking over his aunt's heavy suitcase and backpack. Aunt Josephine just smiled, and his aunt looks our MC up and down. "Not bad. He has definitely grown taller and way more handsome than his dad ever was." But getting to the villa, his aunt just stares at the massive estate, completely speechless. Our guy casually drops the bomb. It is his wife's place. They literally just tied the knot 2 days ago. Plus, she actually knows her, the famous Shen family. Aunt Josephine gets an instant flash of absolute clarity. Wait, the little Shen girl, the one he always cried about wanting to marry back in the day. Our MC remembers it all, letting out a deep, nostalgic sigh. Childhood crushes really are just massive debts waiting to be paid. He sits right next to Aurelia, needing to ask her one serious question. She stays cold. "Speak." He probes carefully. "That night, was she actually drugged?" But before he can even finish asking that sentence, Aurelia glares at him like he is a total idiot. Who in this entire city would dare drug her? She tells him to drop the brain-rotting trash novels. It literally makes you dumb. Boom. So she admits she set him up on purpose. That is technically a literal crime. Our guy never saw this coming at all. He got completely played by her from day one, and the craziest part, she is totally acting self-righteous about it. He just laments his cruel fate, wearing a bitter pout. The longest road he will ever walk is definitely Aurelia's twisted little trap. Whatever. He figures he is just paying off the debt for those silly things he said as a kid. Suddenly, Aurelia freezes up completely. Wait, he actually remembers his childhood promise. Our MC is confused. Obviously, he remembers. He never got amnesia. Why wouldn't he remember? Well, you and I are about to see him get totally destroyed. Aurelia snaps, punching and kicking. He remembered, yet still dated that other woman. Total scumbag move. She promises to beat him to a pulp. He screams for mercy, swearing he literally just remembered it. Begging her to go easy. Later that evening, General Gideon finishes work, heading straight home. The whole massive family gathers for a big reunion dinner. Our guy takes a bite of the braised pork and throws his father-in-law a huge thumbs up. Absolutely delicious. Father-in-law Sterling puffs his chest with immense pride. Of course it is. Back in the day, just to make his lovely wife happy, he literally worked as an apprentice chef in a fancy 5-star hotel for 2 solid years. He tells our MC he still has plenty to learn. Right then, little Pixie is munching on a sticky rice dumpling when she suddenly bites into a hidden coin. She screams in shock, thinking there is something dirty in her food. Aunt Josephine just rubs her head, laughing at the silly girl. She hit the jackpot. Tradition says whoever finds that hidden coin instantly gets 1 wish granted. You and I know exactly where this is going. Pixie points at Aurelia. She wants to see them kiss, under the intense, highly expectant gaze of the entire dinner table. Our guy's heart jumps straight into his throat. He has never actually initiated a kiss with a girl before. He has absolutely zero romantic experience, but Aurelia, she casually puts down her chopsticks, turns right around, grabs his head, and goes straight for the kiss. Herself, wild. After that, his uncle and father-in-law start an intense drinking contest. Those 2 drink until they are dead drunk, passing out flat on the floor. Our guy gets totally dragged into it, forced to down half a bottle of hardcore white liquor. All right, we start in the bedroom. Caspian pulls Aurelia by the waist, pinning her down, asking in a low, husky voice, "That was way too fast earlier. Can we go one more round?" Aurelia gently closes her eyes, but after waiting for a hot second, she realizes something. Caspian has literally passed out cold. Furious, her mouth twitches in absolute disbelief. She desperately wants to smack this absolute blockhead right across the face. Early the next morning, under the totally shocked stares of the company employees, Caspian follows Aurelia inside. She immediately starts tackling a massive mountain of documents while Caspian just boredly plays around with his silver needles. Suddenly, phone rings. Our boy Caspian just got another gig. The payload, 2 million. A few minutes later, he stands up and heads straight for the door. He doesn't forget to wave goodbye to Aurelia. Keep working hard. Hubby is going to go earn us some baby formula money. Do not miss me too much. Meanwhile, in the Liu family living room, Reginald hangs up his phone. His expression is terrifyingly grim. It marks the 5th call today about withdrawn investments. These shareholders were all brought in by his daughter, but now they are all pulling their funding at the same time. There must be a reason. Another call comes through. Yup, another shareholder wanting out, a minor investor named Chenaming. Reginald panics, begging, "Brother Chenaming, you have got to at least give me a reason for pulling out. Did I somehow offend some massive VIP?" Without even knowing it, the voice on the phone simply says, "You know that kid Caspian, the one who almost became your son-in-law. That kid actually runs a highly famous skincare account online. All these investors originally invested in your company purely because of him. Now that you guys cut ties, of course we are pulling our money." Hearing this from the sidelines, Valeria feels her entire world spinning. Her face turns completely pale, so it turns out everyone backed her solely because of Caspian, and now that Caspian is gone, these people are bouncing too. Right at this exact moment, Valeria's phone rings. It is a call from Quentin. She walks up to her 2nd floor bedroom, answering it wearily. "Do you need something?" Quentin says with bubbling excitement. "Valeria, I have got amazing news for you. I just chatted with the young master of the Wu family. He has decided to invest 20 million into Genesis Entertainment." This insane news brings a tiny sliver of life right back into Valeria's eyes. A 20 million investment is absolutely not a small Quinton must have truly racked his brains to secure this funding for her. If they can just survive this crisis, then it is probably time to finally give herself to him. But get this, after hanging up, Quinton immediately dials another number. Quinton, you are really willing to sell out your very own girlfriend? Quinton replies with a wildly greasy, flattering tone. Young master. Woo, only someone of your massive stature is truly worthy of a top-tier beauty like Valeria. Monty laughs uproariously. Excellent, as long as you trick her into coming over tomorrow, the company chairman's seat is all yours. Now watch this. Caspian meets up with Bart, following his GPS to an isolated villa deep in the suburbs. Bart explains that this time, the mysterious patient is double disabled and suffering from severe depression. Her wealthy family had quietly settled in the suburbs. Right at the villa entrance, a nanny steps out to greet them. You must be Dr. Zhang, the nanny greeted. Our MC raised a skeptical eyebrow. Something felt completely off as he cautiously stepped inside the massive, quiet villa. He caught a strange, faint scent in the air. His eyes narrowed instantly. Leaning close to Bart, this place is extremely sketchy. Do not drop your guard. The nanny claimed they had never met, but watch closely the very second he arrived, she knew exactly who he was. A flat-out, obvious lie. Bart panicked and whispered back, "What is the play here? Do we run?" For the first time, Dr. Zhang felt serious tension creeping up his spine. Sure. Maybe she saw a photo earlier, but that deep gut feeling of impending danger just would not fade. The strange nanny then calmly brought out some hot tea. She smiled way too warmly. Why are you boys standing? Please sit down. The young miss is still asleep. I will take you up very soon. Dr. Zhang poured a cup and took a tiny sip, but right away his eyes widened. He snapped his head and spat the liquid right onto the floor, ice cold. He glared at her. Why is this tea heavily laced with knockout drugs? The nanny froze. Her fake smile looked completely stiff now. You must be joking. Why would there be drugs in your cup? Zhang and Bart locked eyes. No hesitation. They sprang up and sprinted straight for the front exit. Seeing them run, the nanny whipped out a radio from her pocket and ordered, "Attack them now." Instantly, 10 heavily armed, ruthless thugs poured down the stairs. They chased the duo down hard. The guys busted outside, only to realize their car tires were completely slashed open. They had zero options left but to sprint down the empty road. Soon, Zhang felt his entire body going totally numb. He realized the truth, that weird scent back in the living room. Spiked, he cursed his luck, but right then, a very familiar silhouette blocked the road ahead. It was Titus, the stoic bodyguard. He just stood there, calmly waiting for the armed mob to approach. Seeing just one guy standing, the thugs totally laughed him off. With a massive numbers advantage, they assumed an easy win, but you and I know they had zero clue who Titus actually was. 10 minutes later, those same arrogant, fierce attackers were scattered on the ground, groaning in pure agony. Every single one of them was beaten purple, faces completely twisted in absolute terror. This was a massacre. Titus casually rolled down his sleeves, his face dead serious, and tied up a survivor, chucking him into the trunk, and then he turned around and knocked Zhang and Bart completely cold. Why? To stop Bart from making stupid moves around his boss's man. Later, when Dr. Zhang finally woke up, he found himself stripped down to just his boxers, sprawled out on a familiar couch. The CEO office. Aurelia's icy voice cut through the silence. You are awake. She sat behind her grand desk, looking a bit disheveled. Honestly, it was glaringly obvious that some intense, definitely not safe for work activities had recently happened. Zhang bolted upright. Where is Bart? He demanded. Aurelia answered with a totally flat tone. Threw him in a club. If it is a blessing or a curse is up to his karma. She slowly approached him, her expression dark and absolutely terrifying. You have been a bad boy, running off to that remote place. You are lucky I ordered Titus to tail you. Time, otherwise you'd be in another woman's bed right now. Caspian lowered His head totally guilty and stuttered. It won't happen again, but Aurelia had absolutely zero intention of letting him off the hook. She bit down hard on his neck. He inhaled a sharp breath of cold air from the pain. She let out a cold snort. Next time you run into trouble like this, you better be careful. Instead of running around getting targeted by absolute creeps, you'd be much better off staying home and figuring out how to butter me up and keep me happy. Just then a knock echoed from the door. Aurelia quickly straightened her clothes, walked back behind her desk and commanded coldly, "Come in." Titus walked in and reported, "Miss, I investigated everything. A guy named Quentin paid $5 million to hire those thugs, his goal, drug Mr. Jang and force him to film with female artists." Hearing this, Caspian instantly exploded. Holy smokes, $5 million. This punk is really throwing down serious cash, actually daring to play dirty with me. Aurelia just glanced out the window. Then she said, "Let's go home and eat dinner first. Tomorrow, Titus goes with him. If anyone touches my man, they better be prepared to pay the ultimate price." Later that night, inside a super luxurious private room in a Magic City nightclub, a totally exposed Bart groggily opened his eyes. He saw a 200-pound middle-aged woman staring at him with 1,000 watts of terrifyingly seductive charm. "Darling, you were so rough with me earlier, but I absolutely love you like this." Bart's eyes rolled into the back of his head and he just fainted straight away. Only a single thought remained in his mind. This absolutely had to be a nightmare. He definitely hadn't woken up yet. Yeah, that had to be it. Come Thursday morning, Titus went out gathering intel. Now, since Caspian worked overtime yesterday afternoon, he didn't sleep in. Our guy woke up early to give the two elders and Mrs. Gable a nice massage. Serenity tasted the beauty soup he brewed for her, revealing an expression of total, absolute satisfaction. "Little Caspian is the best. Aurelia bagging you is honestly her absolute ultimate blessing. If she acts too bossy or unreasonable, just come to Mom. Mom will discipline her for you." Caspian just smiled and said, "Aurelia is actually really great. She just acts like a little kid sometimes." Later, at 1 p.m., Aurelia dragged him to the company. She ordered her secretary to register a private clinic under her husband's name, allocate an entire floor for him to open his clinic. As for the herbs and medical equipment, Caspian quickly raised his hand. "I'll handle all that." Aurelia simply nodded. "For any necessary funds, just go straight to the company's finance department to get reimbursed. And if you dare try to hide a secret stash of money again, you'll be sleeping in the same room as Brutus and Titus tonight." The secretary awkwardly backed out of the office, very obviously having choked down way too much couple PDA. "Now stick with me. Century Tower has 30 floors in total." Relying heavily on the security department's manpower, they quickly cleared out the entire 19th floor and hung up the sign for Century Clinic. Caspian immediately called Bart over. After all, running a proper clinic requires hands on deck. He teased him, "How was last night, buddy?" Bart replied back with pure righteous indignation. "Do you know my pure innocent virginity that I guarded for so many years is just gone like that? I feel so absolutely grossed out, I wanna throw up." Caspian quickly comforted his friend. All right, my guys have already." Caspian finally tracked that punk down. "Oh yeah, it is pure revenge time." He grabbed Bart and Titus, marching straight up to the notorious Rose nightclub. This spot was strictly for the ultra-wealthy. Insane facilities, crazy expensive, and only VIPs get past the door. Caspian leads his crew straight toward the Emperor VIP room. Let us see what awaits inside. Just spoiled rich kids lounging around. The tables were totally packed with ridiculously expensive booze and snacks, but every single pair of eyes was glued to the sofa where a woman sat with flushed cheeks. Yep, that woman was none other than Valeria. Quentin was practically groveling to some arrogant young guy nearby. He smirked. "Young Master Wu, this beauty is all yours. You can do whatever you want with her." Valeria's younger brother, Cedric, stood paralyzed on the sidelines. His eyes were totally bloodshot as he thrashed around. Quentin, you absolute monster, my sister. Actually trusted you, but two massive bodyguards kept him pinned, forcing him to watch. Helplessly as his sister fell into this devil's trap, his heart was just filled with agonizing regret. Meanwhile, under the flashing neon lights of the private room, Valeria fought just to open her eyes, glaring at Monty. She ground her teeth in absolute fury. Doing this, are you not afraid of the consequences? She had only followed Quentin here to sign a simple business contract, only to get brutally drugged right there in the room. Hearing this, Monty burst into arrogant laughter. Call the cops, who will believe you, do not forget. Your Liu family is nothing but a dog raised by our Wu family, the rich kids. Around them could not contain their excitement. They started hyping Monty up to finally make his move. Monty sneered coldly, grabbing at Valeria's clothes. The two giant bodyguards were already dragging Cedric out the door, but right at that exact moment, bam, the VIP door was violently kicked wide open. It slammed hard against the wall. The sheer force made the entire room physically tremble. Seeing Caspian and his crew standing right there, Cedric's eyes instantly lit up. He desperately screamed, Caspian, please save my sister. Quentin drugged her. Caspian coldly scanned the room. Quentin, hiding right next to Monty, instantly turned deathly pale. Caspian pointed straight at Quentin, telling Titus that is him. Grab him and drag him over here. Titus stepped up to act, but Monty's too massive bodyguards instantly blocked his path. Their eyes locked on. Monty glared at Caspian coldly. He is under my protection. Take your little squad and get out of here, or else. Caspian just raised an eyebrow. Are you really sure he is under your protection? He spent 5 million to hire thugs to drug me. Are you going to take the fall for that crime too? Monty completely froze. When his brain finally processed the threat, he furiously kicked Quentin. Get lost from this exact moment on. I do not know you. The second he said that, Titus lunged forward, violently flipping Quentin to the ground. Two absolutely brutal slaps sent him spinning into a dazed mess. Caspian looked at the swooning Valeria, then flicked a silver needle straight into her neck. Get her to a hospital within half an hour. She will survive. Cedric stared at his unconscious sister and then at those massive guards still blocking his path. He had no idea what to do. Thankfully, Monty waved his hand in pure annoyance. Hurry up, take this woman and just get lost. My mood is completely ruined. Let us see what Caspian does next. Backup plans. He absolutely refused to take that kind of crazy risk. Cedric was instantly thrilled as he carried Valeria on his back, but honestly his heart was secretly sinking with massive regret. Even someone Monty deeply feared, Caspian, was literally tossed out of the house by their Liu family. If they had just treated our main character well, we wouldn't be seeing this epic revenge. Different. Outside the private room, Caspian sneered and looked at Bart. Today we absolutely have to teach Quentin what karma feels like. Bart nodded, waving his hand. At Titus he smirked. Let's drag this punk back and show him some real top-tier hospitality. Right about now, Quentin was fully tied up inside a shady club room, bound tight to a bed, dirty rag shoved in his mouth. His terrified eyes were bulging wide. He thrashed around desperately, but couldn't break free at all. Caspian casually pulled 3 silver needles from his waist, looking down with pure mockery. His face stretched into a massive grin. Don't be so impatient, young Master Chen. The nightlife just started. No need to get this excited yet. I am a guy who truly respects people. 3 needles here. 2 of them are coated in special juice. Stick them in, and half your manhood goes on a permanent vacation. Pick the right one, though. I will let you completely off the hook. Quentin's face went completely pale with absolute horror. He knew exactly what kind of brutal methods Caspian possessed. He did not doubt our guy for a single second, but right now the guy literally had 0 options, whimpering muffled sounds through the dirty rag. He finally just pointed at the middle needle. Smiling, Caspian mercilessly plunged the silver needle straight into his thigh. So, did he pick the right one, Bart Asked, looking super curious. Under Quentin's intensely hopeful gaze, Caspian nodded his head. The captive finally breathed a massive sigh of relief. However, Caspian's very next words terrified him so badly, his whole body started violently convulsing. This needle isn't coated in numbing juice. No, it is coated in my personally developed super invincible aphrodisiac. Hearing that, Quentin started struggling violently. His eyes were blazing with pure furious anger, basically screaming, "You absolute punk, you don't follow martial arts ethics." But right as the situation hit its glorious climax, watch this, Titus walked in completely emotionless, without saying a single word. He hoisted Caspian right onto his massive shoulder and walked out. "Hey, what are you doing? I am not done playing. The miss ordered you home to sleep." With her watching Caspian get hauled away, Bart put on a highly aggrieved expression. "So what if you have a wife? You love torturing us single guys, don't you? Sooner or later, I will absolutely find myself a gorgeous wife too." Whatever, they left. Now it is time for my program. Everyone come in. Following his call, 10 slender figures boldly strutted into the room from outside. With every step, you can practically see Quentin's heart shatter into another million pieces. If he knew this absolute nightmare was coming, he never would have provoked Caspian. Early next morning, heading to the company, Caspian sniffed himself and caught a whiff of a faint floral scent. His face contorted in utter disgust. "This is all your fault. I am covered in this weird smell. People who don't know will actually think I love bathing in perfume. Lately, every single night." Aurelia slept. She clung to him like a giant octopus. Aurelia slapped her hand right onto his neck, shaking him viciously. "You absolute bastard, you dare be disgusted by me." Begging for discipline, Caspian struggled wildly against him, yelling, "Don't go too far. All right, keep this up and I'm going to fight back." The elevator doors opened. Let's explore the 19th floor of this massive building. Compared to the bustling lower levels, this floor felt exceptionally tranquil. Brand new medical equipment sat everywhere. The air hung thick with the potent smell of traditional Chinese herbs. Caspian stumbled out of the elevator, clutching his backside, his face radiating pure grievance. Bart proudly pointed at the pristine, perfectly organized layout. He flexed. "How's that? My efficiency is pretty hardcore, right? That guy named Chen, I tortured him right to the brink of insanity yesterday. From now on, just seeing a woman who is even slightly chubby is going to make him hurl. Oh, by the way, Mrs. Harrington from Genlin Real Estate just called me. She is bringing 2 friends over shortly. Here, these are the new business cards I made for you." Caspian took one. It was completely matte black with hot stamped gold lettering, just the clinic's name and phone number. Low-key but incredibly premium. It was absolutely perfect for flexing. Just as Caspian felt a secret thrill, a commotion came from the doorway. On this floor, aside from the clinic staff, basically no one else would ever wander in. Looks like the VIP guests arrived. Caspian turned his head. Sure enough, 3 women glowing with radiant health walked in, dressed in high-end fashion, wearing ridiculously expensive jewelry on their heads and necks. He recognized one of them. It was Mrs. Harrington from Zenlin Real Estate. The other 2 had to be her friends, but they looked totally unimpressed right now. "Sister Harrington, I have never even heard of Century Clinic. We are not sick. What are we doing here? I only came because you promised us premium beauty treatments." "Yeah, exactly. I literally skipped my booked salon appointment for this. That private salon is incredibly hard to book." Mrs. Harrington quickly comforted them. "Oh, don't worry, girls. I wouldn't have brought you here if I wasn't absolutely certain." "Little Caspian, come over here." Mrs. Harrington spotted Caspian, her eyes lighting up instantly. She eagerly waved him over. "Let me introduce you. This is Mrs. Davenport. We're all close friends who hang out together. I specifically brought them here to support your grand opening. You absolutely must give us a discount." Mrs. Davenport and Mrs. Kensington saw how young Caspian looked, and their hearts instantly filled with massive doubt. Now watch him Handle this perfectly, he just chuckled. Don't rush, ladies, I guarantee you will be fully satisfied within an hour. He turned his head and yelled. Bart served the soup. 10 minutes later, 3 bowls of watermelon flavored beauty soup sat right in front of them. Caspian smoothly explained, the biggest difference between our clinic's beauty treatments and those regular outside salons is this: salons make you look good outside, but you have to go constantly. Plus, slapping all those chemical bottles and jars on long-term damages your body. But we use traditional Chinese medicine to regulate your core, improving you from the inside out, making your skin naturally flawless over time. You only need to visit once a month, and it's only 50,000 per session. Mrs. Davenport wasn't buying it at all. You young kids sure know how to spin a tale. Anyone can brag. She hit the premium beauty salons 5 times a month, every single time. Cost at least 100,000, but she had zero choice but to pay up. Otherwise, her husband would absolutely go out and cheat. But hearing that this only cost 50,000 a month for just 1 bowl of soup, obviously she didn't buy a word of it. Our guy wasn't mad though, he just scanned her. He smirked. If my guess is right, your sleep has been absolute garbage lately. Soon as night falls, your whole body gets crazy itchy, and no matter how much you scratch, nothing helps. Mrs. Davenport was completely stunned. Wait, how did you know? He just kept going. Dark circles under your eyes, scratch marks on your arms, tiny bumps on your neck. You're dealing with a nasty allergic reaction to some chemical, and it's been torturing you for at least 6 months. Mrs. Davenport was totally mind-blown. She covered her mouth in pure, absolute shock. She was amazed by how terrifyingly sharp his eyes were, because yeah, she actually had a chemical allergy. She had already hit up the hospital for it. The doctors told her to use fewer salon products or else curing it would be impossible, so she basically just kept dragging the issue out until today. Mrs. Harrington immediately jumped in from the sidelines. Just drink it and relax, ladies. His medical skills are the real deal. His basic house call starts at 500,000 minimum, and there are tons of people literally begging him for treatment. This beauty soup, that is just the absolute basics. If you add his acupuncture to the mix, the results are completely flawless. Seeing that Mrs. Harrington was hyping him up this hard, Mrs. Davenport and Mrs. Kensington finally let their guard down. They grabbed the beauty soup in front of them and chugged it. Instantly, they felt this warm, incredibly soothing sensation deep in their stomachs. Our MC then pulled out 2 small packets, dropping them right in front of Mrs. Davenport. This cures your allergy. Boil it in a pot for 2 hours and drink it hot. I promise you will finally get a solid night's sleep tonight, and since Sister Harrington brought you in, this one is completely free. If it works, just come back for the follow-up. Mrs. Davenport agreed instantly. Deal. If this actually works, I am bringing every single friend I know over. Here, Bart jumped in at the exact perfect moment. He chuckled, handing out 3 shiny business cards. Here you go, ladies. Our clinic's info. If you need anything, just call us. Meanwhile, up in the top floor CEO's office, the secretary stood quietly holding files, while Aurelia, sitting right behind the desk, had her eyes locked dead straight onto the live security feed on her computer screen, the ballpoint pen in her hand. Yeah, snapped in half. She gritted her teeth in pure, absolute fury. This damn arrogant guy, he acts so cold towards me, but calls these old hag sister with every single breath. Anyone watching would think they are your actual wives. Just wait and see how I completely wreck you later. Meanwhile, at the Magic City Traditional Chinese Medicine Association, you and I know his reputation was skyrocketing, so naturally he easily caught the attention of the big boss. Right now on the president's desk sat a complete, detailed file of his background. Dr. Cornelius stroked his gray beard, muttering softly to himself. So he is actually Zhang Janhai's son. No wonder he has such god-tier medical skills. At such a young age, suddenly a knock echoed from the door. A young girl wearing a green shirt pushed it open and walked right in, her voice super ethereal and sweet. A soft bell rings. Grandpa, you called. Dr. Cornelius simply hands the paperwork over to his granddaughter. 1 month from now, he says it will be the massive showdown for the young rookies of our medical association and the heavyweights from Jangan and Yajang. You and I know this trope. Caspian holds a legendary family acupuncture manual. His dad's needle skills were absolute god tier, famous across the entire medical world. So Grandpa, do you want me to recruit him for my team? Nope. The old man admits Caspian has talent but lacks real experience. He is nowhere near qualified enough to be her teammate. Instead, they are going on a little trip together. They plan to get their hands on Caspian's family manual and squeeze out whatever secrets they can learn from it. But honestly, Dr. Cornelius secretly looked down on Caspian. The old man felt Caspian completely ignored, studying true orthodox Chinese medicine, wasting his absolute genius on cheap beauty and skincare hacks. To him, Caspian was on the wrong path. Plus, serving only wealthy elites meant the kid's greed for money and fame was just way too big. He supposedly lacked basic medical ethics. His career was destined to crash and burn anyway, so the doctor figured he might as well steal his manual for himself before those god-tier skills vanished forever. Meanwhile, the midday heat is absolutely scorching. Work finishes up, and Aurelia brings her attendant straight back home. Inside, Serenity and Aunt Josephine are busy discussing the exact date for Caspian and Aurelia's engagement. Then, suddenly, a wild commotion erupts outside. Caspian yells, "Hey, take it easy on me. I told you this was strictly for my job. I am only letting this slide because you are a woman. Do not make me fight back, because when I actually go crazy, I even scare myself." Yet, despite being dragged into the house by his ear by Aurelia, our boy Caspian was still desperately shouting, "Tough guy." Threats Aurelia, she completely ignores him. "Go ahead and go crazy if you really have the guts. My hands have been itching for a fight anyway." The chaotic couple heads straight upstairs to their bedroom. The living room instantly returns to dead silence. The family on the sofa just exchange glances, their faces totally plastered with utter helplessness. You and I see it. Caspian mirrors his dad out in the real world. He fears absolutely nothing and will gladly provoke anybody in his way. The only thing he truly fears, his wife. Honestly, it makes sense because Aurelia is insanely domineering. 9 years ago, that girl went on a solo trip and came back completely transformed into this absolute boss. Night falls. Enter Mrs. Davenport, named Daphne, with a husband who runs a whole transportation company. These two have survived some serious hardships together. But due to extreme overwork and pure exhaustion, Daphne's skin has severely deteriorated. She brings out a freshly brewed herbal soup. Her husband frowns hard. Doctors these days are nothing but scammers and total charlatans, just swindling people, he says, and you actually believe them. Sister Harrington recommended him, she replies. Plus, it is completely free. If it fails, I just will not go back. If things go wrong, this is a massive clinic. They literally cannot run away. Pinching her nose, Daphne. All right, watch this. Daphne down that bitter soup in one gulp. The next day, her husband was totally jolted awake by her screaming. Daphne was touching the bad breakouts on her neck, yelling in pure shock. Dr. Zhang's medicine actually worked. The spots faded so much, and I didn't even feel itchy at all. While sleeping last night, she had been totally tortured by these bad breakouts for half a year. Countless doctors did absolutely nothing. Who would have ever thought she would find the cure in some totally unknown, tiny clinic? Dr. Zhang was truly a medical god. Meanwhile, Bart had just reached the clinic when he got a call from Daphne, hearing that she was about to bring in a ton of wealthy friends over. Bart was so hyped he could barely close his mouth. The salary our MC gave him was a flat 30% of the clinic's profits. The better the business ran, the more cash he raked in. No problem at all, Mrs. Davenport. Where is your house? I'll personally deliver the follow-up medicine right to you right now. What? Oh, no problem at all. After gleefully hanging up the call, Bart suddenly realized he had absolutely zero clue how to mix those specific prescriptions if he just grabbed some random bottle of 6-flavor herbal pills to bluff her. This VIP client would definitely run off. Suddenly remembering a detail, Bart quickly walked over to our main character's cabinet and rummaged around. He quickly found a small cloth bundle, specifically used for storing acupuncture needles. Opening it up, he found rows of neatly arranged silver needles inside. Right underneath each needle was a tag labeled with things like bone softening, paralysis, and so on. These exact needles were exclusively for our hero's personal use. They had been tossed straight into a boiling cauldron of special medicinal soup and steeped for a full 49 days before they were perfectly forged. Isn't the medicine right here? Meanwhile, back at the Panlong Villa district, you and I see our MC sleeping until he gets suddenly slapped awake by a brutal backhand. Completely terrified, he instantly bolted upright in bed. Once his brain finally rebooted, he glared at Aurelia right next to him. Why did you hit me? Aurelia's face was extremely pale. Her eyes were glued dead straight toward the bedroom doorway. Trembling with fear, she pointed her finger. His heart definitely skipped a beat. There's actually something in this whole world that terrifies this tough woman. He turned his head to look at the door, and his entire body instantly froze solid. Every single ounce of sleepiness in his brain totally evaporated into thin air. He saw that at the bedroom doorway, appearing out of nowhere, were two massive, incredibly vibrant green snakes. They had appeared and were slithering around the room at an agonizingly slow pace, flicking their terrifying forked tongues as they crawled forward. These snakes were at least 1.6 meters long, definitely fully grown adults, even though Aurelia was usually super cold, aloof, and fiercely independent. When faced with something she was terrified of, she acted just like any normal girl. She was exceptionally afraid of snakes, caterpillars, and other gross legless creatures. She frantically tried to grab the hem of his shirt, but her hand grasped nothing but empty air. Only then did she realize our guy had already completely retreated under the blankets. Unable to hold back, Aurelia landed a vicious kick right on his butt. Aren't you a doctor? You have even touched dead bodies before. How can you be afraid of snakes? Medical schools have anatomy classes where we dissect corpses, and I graduated from the absolute best medical academy in the city, he quickly explained. He's sweating bullets. Sure, dissecting dead bodies is easy, but these snakes are alive, literally crawling everywhere. Who wouldn't freak out seeing these menaces? Our guy is an absolute expert at making snake medicine, but actually catching them, absolutely not happening, especially since their bright colors look incredibly venomous and creepy. If he gets bitten without immediate medical rescue, he will go straight to the afterlife. Hiding under the blankets just wasn't safe enough for him, so he quickly wiggled right into Aurelia's arms, hugging her slender waist for dear life. He begged his amazing wifey to use her strength and protect him. Dark lines of pure annoyance pop up on Aurelia's forehead. If she wasn't also terrified of snakes, would she have even bothered waking him up? She would have turned these pests into snake soup ages ago. It is currently the peak of summer, which means snakes naturally roam everywhere. These two reptiles probably just crawled right through the open balcony. For ventilation purposes, Aurelia never actually closed those balcony windows. You and I know that's just begging to attract massive, uninvited scaly guests. Realizing this fact, she quickly pulls out her phone to call her security, only to receive the tragic news that both bodyguards have been dragged off to the morning market by her mom. Mrs. Gable has tagged along too, so right now in this massive empty villa, it is just the two of them, staring at each other with wide eyes, completely devoid of any real counter measures. Normally, snakes will not actively attack humans. The only solution is waiting for those bodyguards to return. Our main character is filled with profound regret. If he had known, he would have brought his silver acupuncture needles home. Yesterday, otherwise, with two swift throws, these two snakes would have been chilling in the afterlife already. He helplessly hugs his wifey's tiny waist, dramatically rubbing his face against her, crying that he still wants her in his next life. Aurelia remains completely emotionless. She warns him to shut his mouth right now, or she will literally throw him out to feed the snakes. At this exact moment, urgent footsteps echo from outside the door, accompanied by a childish, high-pitched voice. Big bad demon brother, big bad demon sister. Pixie is here to play with you. Their faces instantly morph into masks of sheer panic. They scream not to come in, but the warning comes a second too late. The bedroom door gets pushed wide open. Pixie's sudden appearance instantly draws the attention of those two green snakes. The beautifully chubby little girl just looks at the two massive green reptiles slithering toward her tiny feet, completely freezing for a second. The very next second, an earth-shattering wail echoes throughout the entire massive villa, followed closely by rapid, heavy footsteps and the absolute booming voice of Uncle Gideon, heavily laced with frantic panic. My sweet daughter, what happened to you? So what happens next? Let's skip ahead. General Gideon picks up his daughter. She is now happily munching on hot snake soup. He reaches out, rubs her head and smiles with infinite doting affection. How is it, little Pixie? Is that snake soup yummy? Super yummy. Pixie holds her little spoon, eagerly eating the delicious snake soup. Her little face is a perfect portrait of absolute satisfaction. Mouthful after mouthful, she stuffs her cheeks until they bulge just like a cute chipmunk. Meanwhile, our guy has his head bowed, kneeling on a computer keyboard. He pleads with an incredibly aggrieved tone. Wifey, I have been kneeling. All right, you and I need to see this. He begged her to spare him just once. Exactly, from the very beginning, Caspian was completely acting. His fear of snakes was genuine, sure, but that did not mean he could not recognize the species. As a qualified traditional medical doctor, snakes are literally just medicinal ingredients. Different snake skins have entirely different uses. Aurelia, wearing her slippers, lifted her foot and stepped right on his face. Crossing her arms, she let out a cold snort. You want to get up, keep dreaming. If you do not kneel for a full 2.5 hours today, do not even think about moving. When Aurelia realized he was deliberately trying to watch her make a massive fool of herself, she was so furious her teeth nearly shattered. This guy was seriously only one missed beating away from trying to ascend to heaven. Caspian actually dared to act in front of her, and the worst part, she actually fell for it. If she did not train him properly right now, what would happen later? Anyway, because of the two uninvited, scaly guests at home, Caspian arrived at the clinic much later than usual. Little Pixie was already handed over to Mrs. Gable, who had come back home early. As soon as our guy walked into the clinic, he saw two people waiting in the lobby area. Bart quickly scurried right over to him and whispered, "That is the president of our Magic City Traditional Chinese Medicine Association, Dr. Cornelius." The girl next to him is his granddaughter, Penelope. She is roughly the exact same age as you. They specifically came looking for you. You did not somehow manage to offend them, did you? Before Caspian could even speak, Dr. Cornelius had already spotted him. The man stood up and walked over, extending his hand. He smiled warmly. Little friend Caspian, you have even more aura than your father did when he was young. He knew his dad, but considering this other guy was the president of the medical association, it totally made sense that he had interacted with his dad. Now stick with me. Why did he suddenly pop up here? Before Caspian could answer him, Penelope, standing to the side, rudely spoke up first. What rank have you reached in your medical certification? Unranked, Caspian replied super casually. He honestly could not care less about what rank or level he was. His life goal was definitely not to become some world-renowned medical god. Our guy was only interested in cold, hard cash. Penelope's face was instantly plastered with absolute disdain. She did not bother asking anything else. An unranked medical doctor was not worth wasting another brain cell on. the three of them returned to the sofa and sat down. Dr. Cornelius pulled Caspian into a long chat about stories of his father from back in the day. It looked like a casual chat, but he was actually trying to butter him up. Caspian thought this old guy definitely came here solely for the Zhang family's heirloom needle manual, so our main character directly cut him off. Dr. Cornelius, you must be here for the Zhang family's 9 needles. Correct, sure enough. He paused for a second, then softly chuckled. Little friend, Caspian is truly perceptive. I am indeed here for your Zhang family's needle manual. In 1 month, regional associations will be holding a big ranking tournament. This directly concerns the ultimate honor of our Magic City Association. When your father was alive, he successfully defended our local title multiple times. We hope that this time Penelope can also rely on your needle manual to win glory for us. Caspian just laughed mockingly. We both know he is spouting all those fancy words about honor and glory. Total garbage. In reality, he just wanted to mooch Caspian's family needle manual for absolutely nothing, so our MC pretended to look deeply troubled. Dr. Cornelius, my clinic here just opened up. I am running really low on rare medicinal ingredients right now. Dr. Cornelius instantly caught what Caspian was implying. The old man thought to himself, since I cannot get this for free, I guess I have to actually spend some cash. He sighed heavily. Little friend Caspian, it is not that I refuse to give you the ingredients, but nowadays Japan and Korea are buying up all the premium herbs out there. I can only offer 10 million in cash. You can buy them yourself. How does that sound? Caspian cursed the old geezer in his head. 10 million might sound like a lot, but in the world of aged, premium medicinal herbs, that pocket change would barely buy you the dirt on the roots. Trying to use a measly 10 million to trade for a legendary needle manual. He was treating Caspian like an absolute idiot. Since that is the case, our guy would not hold back either. 2 billion, no negotiations. 2 billion, why do you not just go rob a bank? Penelope instantly shrieked, but Caspian did not back down an inch. This is a family heirloom manual. My father used it to become an absolute legend in the international medical world. If I genuinely wanted to sell it, I would not have to worry about finding buyers ready to drop massive money. Dr. Cornelius looked incredibly furious right then. This old man can offer 100 million tops, plus a land deed worth 300 million. Before Caspian could even open his mouth, the doctor added, little friend Caspian, the places where you can actually use your needle techniques are pretty limited, and every single clinic in this massive city falls straight under the jurisdiction of my association. Yep, you guessed it. This just escalated into a completely blatant threat. Caspian just let out a cold laugh. 1 billion plus the land deed. Otherwise, if I cannot survive in this city, worst case scenario, I will just pack up and go somewhere else. Finally, Dr. Cornelius sighed in total defeat. 1 billion it is. Then I will have the land deed sent over this afternoon. Before walking out, he dropped one final comment. Little friend Caspian, you really have guts. You have a lot of your father's style. Caspian just chuckled. You flatter me. This kid is still way behind a fox like you, Dr. Cornelius. Once the cash hits my account, the manual will naturally be handed over to you. The old doctor grabbed his granddaughter and walked out. Penelope let out a loud, totally disgusted scoff, leaving a sacred manual in the hands of someone like you, whose eyes only see money, is a complete and absolute waste of heavenly treasures. Bart muttered in pure anger. Hey, watch how you speak. He ran over to Caspian's side and asked in a super quiet whisper, are you actually going to sell the manual? Our MC smiled like it was nothing. If I sell it, I sell it. It is not like they can actually learn the thing anyway. See, the Zhang family's 9 needles was crazy deep and complex. Without the Zhang family's exclusive core secrets, those guys could honestly only learn a tiny bit of useless fluff. They would never ever be able to grasp the true essence. Compared to that, getting 1 billion in cash and a 300 Million land deed was a totally insane steal, just as Caspian was happily celebrating. Stick with me here. A massive crowd suddenly flooded into the clinic. All right, let's dive back in. Leading the charge was Mrs. Davenport, whom he met yesterday. She was incredibly hyped. She told Dr. Zhang she brought him massive business. Caspian immediately shouted for Bart to serve the soup. Out of 13 people, 10 came specifically for the high-end beauty treatment. As for the remaining 3, they had allergies just like Mrs. Davenport, every single one of them was filthy rich. Money was no object. One person meant one bowl of 50 grand beauty soup. The clinic instantly raked in 650,000, sending off Mrs. Davenport and her crew. Caspian was feeling absolutely phenomenal. He took the elevator straight up to the top floor. He kicked open the CEO's door and casually yelled for little Aurelia to serve her granddaddy Caspian some tea. The employee giving a work report just stared at our guy in absolute shock. They internally panicked, thinking this Caspian guy's guts are astronomically huge. Is he not terrified of being murdered by CEO Shen? Aurelia simply stated coldly. To get out, that employee didn't dare hesitate for a millisecond. They dropped their proposal and bolted like lightning, but before leaving, they did forget to carefully shut the door. Now, only Caspian and Aurelia remained in the room. She pointed straight at the floor and sneered for him to kneel. He immediately whipped out a bank card and tossed it. 1 million inside. He told her to kneel. Was he kidding? You and I both know our boy had serious financial backing now. By tomorrow, he'd have 1 billion hitting his account. His confidence was currently skyrocketing. But unexpectedly, Aurelia pulled out a pair of scissors, some water, and a sausage from her desk. Snip. That sausage was brutally cut right half. Caspian instantly felt a terrifying phantom draft down south. He hit his knees faster than light speed, begging his wifey for forgiveness. Aurelia finally put away those scissors. With immense satisfaction, she sneered at him. Flexing in front of others is one thing, but trying that with her, fatal mistake. She demanded he hurry up and hand over every cent of that private stash he just earned. Caspian's eyes immediately bugged out. On what grounds? He earned that cash with his own blood and sweat. Aurelia replied coldly. Did he have absolutely zero self-awareness of his cocky attitude just now, tossing around 1 million and demanding she kneel? If she let him hold 100 million, wouldn't he try to flip the entire world upside down? Caspian mustered up his courage and quietly asked what happens if he refuses. Well, 10 minutes later, he watched his freshly earned cash get aggressively transferred away, leaving him with a measly 500,000 allowance. Our guy wanted to cry but lacked the tears. If he had just stayed humble. Now, the money he had finally gotten his hands on had literally sprouted wings and flown away. But thinking about that 1 billion arriving tomorrow, his mood instantly rebalanced itself. After this brutal lesson, he knew he needed to be way more careful. Here's a lesson for us all: never be too arrogant and floaty. He needed to secretly stack his power in the shadows and then brutally step this crazy woman right under his feet. If Aurelia knew what he was plotting in his head right now, she would absolutely deliver 2 more vicious kicks to his ribs. To avoid any unexpected plot twists that night, Dr. Cornelius personally delivered the 1 billion and the land deed to Caspian that very afternoon, and as promised, he successfully obtained the Zhang family's legendary 9 needles. On the drive back home, Dr. Cornelius watched his granddaughter intently studying the ancient needle manual. He strokes his beard, laughing. Listen to this. Caspian's dad once completely relied entirely on these needle skills to dominate the absolute peak of the medical world. Big shots constantly begged him for cures. Penelope, you seriously must study this hard, but Penelope just frowns, sighing. Grandpa, I feel like this natal manual is missing pages. It only shows how to use the techniques, but the core foundation, the actual insertion steps, are totally gone. Needles. Dr. Cornelius quickly snatches the book back, totally panicking, and inspects it closely. 1.3 billion for a broken manual. he just couldn't believe. It was incomplete, but checking it again, every single page was flawlessly preserved, 0 missing pages. He has no choice but to comfort her. It's a legendary needle technique, after all, so it makes total sense for it to be super complex. Let's head back and study it first. Who knows, maybe the real secrets are hidden inside. Later that afternoon, our MC is rocking sunglasses, casually holding a stick of candied hawthorn, tanghulu, in his hand. Strolling through the Magic City snack street with Aurelia, she's also rocking shades, looking everywhere like a kid whenever a tasty snack catches her eye. She drags him over, cheeks absolutely stuffed like a chipmunk happily eating with pure joyous delight. But suddenly a cotton candy stall grabs his attention, not for the fluffy candy, mind you, but because of the stall owner. It's actually Valeria. Why on earth is this girl out here running street stall? He pulls out his phone, doing a quick search, and guess what he finds in the news? Long Tang Group Bilaid. The Genesis boss goes totally bankrupt. Reginald arrested for tax fraud. Aurelia notices him just standing there like a statue. Following his gaze, she lets out an icy snort, spins right around, and marches toward the crossroad. He hurriedly reaches out to grab her, but nope. She shakes him off. Don't touch me. You clearly still like her in your heart. Go chase her then. Have your happy ending. Oh boy, this high-end mighty Ice Queen has officially morphed into a massive, jealous jar of vinegar. He panics, trying to explain. Babe, wait, just listen to me. I was literally just curious why she's selling candy. I absolutely do not have any other intentions, I swear. I'm not listening to this. I only love you. I can't hear you. Left with 0 options, he forcefully grabs her, pulling her straight into his embrace. He kisses her with aggressive dominance, using his actions to prove his absolute loyalty. Aurelia's beautiful eyes widen in pure shock. She clearly didn't expect him to kiss her right there on the street. This bad guy. Fast forward to evening, sun setting. He covers his mouth, arriving back home feeling a fiery, tearing pain at the corner of his lips. He grumbles internally with pure frustration. Is she secretly a dog? Why did she have to bite him when things were going perfectly fine? Honestly, because of getting bitten during that kiss. He's so salty he refuses to visit Aurelia's room that night. Instead, our guy retreats to his own room, double locking the door and the windows. He even checks under the bed, making absolutely sure no one is hiding there. To prevent some crazy midnight ambush, he literally inspects every single corner of the room. Only after confirming it's completely empty does he finally lie down. He can finally get a good sleep tonight, right? The lights. All right, stick with me here. Lights out, total silence. Our guy falls into it. Deep sleep, totally blind to the danger, quietly creeping in. Right above him, a ceiling panel silently slides open. A super agile shadow drops down. Since it's the second floor, the wooden ceilings had these weird hollow gaps meant for wiring. These hidden corner spaces basically act just like secret doors, connecting his room straight to the master bedroom. Through that same crawl space steps Aurelia, standing barefoot right beside him, watching our MC sleep like a baby. A super creepy, wicked smirk crawls across her face. She lifts up his blanket and slides right in. Thought you could lock me out? Too bad. Tonight I am absolutely sleeping here with you. Then, absolute chaotic warfare breaks out beneath those covers, complete with loud slapping sounds. Eventually, the wild battle ends. Dead silence, but watch this. By the next morning, our guy is rocking massive dark circles as he drags himself into the clinic, mentally cursing his own foolish mistake. Who would have guessed that crazy girl would actually crawl through the vents and give him a literal heart attack? He swears to nail that vent shut tomorrow. Meanwhile, a bunch of rich, elite society ladies are already chilling inside the clinic. They knock back their magical beauty soup and head out. After scrubbing the bowls, Bart walks over to our MC, sighing heavily. Man, it feels like we run a beauty salon, not a real clinic. Seriously, absolutely nobody comes here for actual medical help. Our guy shrugs it off. It doesn't Matter if they want medicine or skincare, our only real mission here is making big money. If things stay like this, we are golden, the whole. Morning flies by in a super busy blur. Come lunchtime, the cafeteria is packed completely full. The smell of amazing food is everywhere. Aurelia and our MC sit together. He smoothly suggests, little Aurelia, let's hit the movies again soon. I will rent out the entire theater just for us and pick an awesome horror flick. Sure thing, she agrees, he thinks. To himself, laughing wickedly, he will find some highly illegal horror film to completely terrify her, and when that jump scare hits, he is absolutely going to film the exact second she screams and jumps straight into his arms. But little does he know, we can clearly see Aurelia plotting the exact same sneaky trap. Her grand plan, hiring Brutus and Titus as fake robbers to completely terrify him senseless, capturing the ultimate embarrassing video to mock him with forever. These two are literally sitting there, both cooking up pure evil plans in their heads, flashing the most suspicious smirks imaginable. Sitting right nearby, Bart suddenly gets a freezing shiver down his spine. He glances around, totally confused, but sees absolutely nothing wrong. Then he catches those super creepy smiles stuck on their faces. He quietly grabs his food tray and sneaks away. Why are they grinning like total weirdos in broad daylight? Are they completely crazy? I better keep my distance before their stupidity spreads. Right then, an absolutely huge uproar explodes near the cafeteria doors. It instantly grabs everyone's attention. A young guy is walking straight toward our MC, wearing a clean, razor-sharp white suit, carrying a giant bouquet of roses, looking like a ridiculously expensive watch on his wrist, paired with a devastatingly handsome face. Ashton totally nailed the tall, rich, and handsome CEO trope. You know the type. The young guy in the white suit froze, his eyes locking instantly onto Aurelia. His gaze practically melted with pure affection. Aurelia, it has been a while. You are still breathtakingly stunning, like the most radiant flower in existence. I am back from studying abroad, and this time I returned here just to marry you. Marry me. He dramatically dropped to one knee, offering up the massive bouquet of flowers. His expression looked incredibly sincere. Right at this exact second, every single worker in the cafeteria just stared blankly at the wild scene. Then they all slowly turned to stare at our main guy, Jang, acting like they could physically see a glowing green cuckold hat hovering right above his head. Old Jang, stay calm, do not do anything reckless. We have laws now, you cannot just start swinging fists. Bart was practically dying, using his whole body weight to pin Jang down, keeping him from going completely berserk. The crowd of coworkers watched like this was totally normal. I mean, after all, Jang's wife was literally getting proposed to right in front of his face, complete with roses and sappy poetry. If any guy could actually stand there and take this, he might as well just be an imperial eunuch. Ashton stared at Jang, looking super confused. Then he turned to Aurelia. Who is this random guy? Aurelia shot back with freezing coldness. My husband, plus I do not recall ever giving you permission to call me Aurelia. After saying that, she just went right back to casually eating her food with zero expression. Meanwhile, Ashton's eyes totally widened in absolute horror. He stumbled back 2 steps, heart exploding with pure blazing fury. Husband, he could not believe it. He was abroad for 3 years and his absolute goddess had actually tied the knot. Panic mode, the secretary frantically called over a bunch of huge, muscular employees just to stop Ashton and Jang from turning this into a bloody brawl. She recognized this rich kid instantly. He was the famous young master of the Gao family from Magic City. He actually was college classmates with Aurelia. He ruthlessly chased her during university, but his powerful family shipped him abroad for further studies, so the poor guy was forced to leave. Bet you did not expect him to crash the party today. However, even though Ashton had this flashy, flamboyant vibe, he was surprisingly a pretty honorable and straightforward dude, totally unlike those other absolute creeps who kept chasing Aurelia, constantly harassing or secretly stalking her in the shadows. Otherwise, the bodyguards would have beaten him so badly he would be searching the floor for his missing teeth. Ashton and Jang just glared at each other like vicious wolves. It was not until Brutus and Titus arrived cracking their heavy knuckles that the two rivals finally sat back down obediently. Then, Aurelia swept her freezing gaze over the entire crowd of terrified employees. Her voice dropped to absolute sub-zero temperatures. What are all of you staring at? If you do not want a lunch break anymore, we will just cancel it permanently starting today. Once you finish eating, get straight back to work. The workers were so terrified they did not even finish their meals. They just scrambled out of that cafeteria fast, like a panicked swarm of bees. Ashton shot Jang a filthy glare and coldly snorted, I will absolutely never accept you. If you actually have the guts, let us settle this properly. All right, why on earth should he even compete? Does Caspian actually gain anything from getting his acknowledgement? Caspian's incredibly calm, logical response completely stunned Ashton. Unwilling to give up, he demanded to know what it would take to make Caspian agree to the match. Caspian simply asked what he was good at: singing, dancing, and basketball. Plus, Ashton bragged about being a PhD student from an elite university. He was just getting to the good part, but Caspian ruthlessly cut him off. Say no more. They would compete in basketball. Whoever scores the most points wins. One basket equals $1 million. Whoever surrenders first completely loses. Deal. Ashton agreed in a heartbeat, but he was not stupid either. He could only use his own pocket money. Did Caspian even have that cash? Caspian just chuckled gleefully and pulled out a sleek diamond bank card. This card held $1 billion. It was all his private cash. If Ashton did not believe him, he could go check the balance himself. Exactly as expected, Aurelia reached out and snatched the card right out of Caspian's hand. $1 billion, huh? Since you've earned so much, I guess I'll increase your allowance by 50,000 this month. 1 million per shot was more than enough for him to use. Caspian stared at her, his face full of sheer, unadulterated total dumbfoundedness. This woman was seriously impossible. The match began. Ashton taunted Caspian with brimming overconfidence. In 1 minute, I will score the first point. I will make you realize how utterly stupid it is to challenge me in basketball. However, the moment those words left his mouth, Caspian had already effortlessly sunk a three-pointer, leaving Ashton standing there with a face full of absolute shock. Bart blew the whistle with intense excitement. Caspian scores 1 point. Ashton felt a sudden wave of panic in his heart, but seeing Aurelia standing on the sidelines, he was instantly refilled with blazing fighting spirit. He dribbled the ball and charged fiercely toward the backboard, but watch closely. Caspian stealthily slipped out a silver needle. Under the watchful eyes of everyone present, Ashton executed a totally flawless crossover dribble, bypassing Caspian completely. But just as he leaped into the air, preparing for a devastating slam dunk, his body suddenly lost all motor control. He crashed heavily onto the court. The ball bounced out of bounds. He was completely stunned. The next several rounds were effortlessly taken down by Caspian. At this point, Ashton began to feel an inexplicable creeping exhaustion deep in his body. He began to severely doubt his own existence. Finally, the score locked in. At 16-0, Ashton, covered in dust and looking utterly defeated, surrendered. He pulled out a bank card and handed it to Caspian. His heart was filled with genuine admiration. I acknowledge you as a brother. If you ever run into trouble in the future, just come find me. Caspian laughed and said, well, I guess I made a decent profit today too, but the cash Caspian literally just got his hands on before it even had time to warm his pocket was ruthlessly confiscated by Aurelia once again. She patted his head with immense satisfaction. Not bad, you have grown up. You actually know how to subsidize the household expenses now. I didn't dote on you in vain, Caspian thought to himself with utter helplessness. Wives spending money is perfectly justified by the very laws of Heaven and earth, so yeah, he just pretended to feed a stray dog. Before Ashton left, he made sure to seriously warn him. Caspian, you need to be extremely careful of a. All right, let us talk about Lucius. He also wants Aurelia, but he is not straightforward or honorable. He will use every totally dirty, underhanded trick to achieve his twisted goals. In the past, he actually made Aurelia cry. Ashton threw massive punch over that exact incident, getting himself shipped overseas by his strict dad. Our main character freezes hearing this. Lucius made Aurelia cry. She is such an incredibly tough and totally resilient woman. There are very few things in this world that could actually bring her to tears. A blazing inferno of pure rage instantly erupts inside our guy. What is this guy's background? Ashton explains. He is the second young master of the Ling family from the capital, Shangjing. He completely failed to beat his older brother for the family inheritance, so he fled to the Magic City to act tough. His father is blood brothers with the mayor. If not for that, Ashton would have beaten him to a total pulp years ago. If our hero wants to dig up more info, he should track down Monty. He holds a massive grudge against Lucius and knows plenty. After saying his final piece, Ashton drives off. He is definitely going home to a severe beating from his old man. Our guy stands there deep in thought. Then, Aurelia suddenly walks right up next to him. She asks softly about what they were just whispering over. He plays it cool. He jokes that Ashton offered to treat him to a nice foot massage. He jokes about looking for bathhouses with the absolute prettiest girls in black silk stockings. Aurelia immediately darkens like thunder. She slaps her hand onto his neck with freezing coldness. Why waste any money? She will give him a massage herself. He shoots a totally frantic look toward Bart for help. Bart instantly catches the urgent message. He rubs his hands together and tells the secretary that the couple has some private marital business to handle. He suggests they leave first, even trying to casually invite the secretary out for dinner tonight. The secretary completely ignores his smooth talk. Instead, she just turns around and walks straight into the elevator. Bart desperately chases right after his target. Our main character curses internally. What an absolute traitor. 2 days later at the Magic City airport, Lucius and his loyal butler march out of the terminal. Lucius spits on the ground, his face full of intense anger as he curses. With such a massive family fortune, they actually dumped a garbage branch company on him to manage, and they still use that condescending tone to lecture him. On what grounds? The nervous butler quickly reminds him to be careful. This is a public place, so he should mind his words. Even though Lucius is burning with frustration, he obediently shuts his mouth if he ever had even a tiny sliver of a chance to win the inheritance. This humiliating trip back to the capital meant those qualifications were completely stripped away. That is, unless his older brother conveniently dropped dead. You and I know he desperately needs a powerful ally, and Aurelia from the Shen family is simply the most perfect choice imaginable. He started plotting to claim her many years ago. Unfortunately, his romantic progress was painfully slow. Now he is completely out of time. He orders Uncle Quincy to investigate exactly what went down in the Magic City this past month, and specifically to track Aurelia. The butler agrees. Meanwhile, our hero smiles warmly while looking over at Monty. Time to toast his new brother a glass. Our MC invited Monty here today because he wants to understand a few things. He smiles and offers him a fancy cocktail. Monty, who is currently tied up like a literal festive Christmas ham, has veins popping furiously on his forehead. He just roars out angrily, "You literally kidnapped me without a single word of warning, and you call this an invite?" Monty was literally right in the middle of a date with a cute girl when the MC's 2 giant bodyguards knocked him out cold and dragged him here. The whole street was watching him. He screams that ever since he crossed paths with our MC, that absolute harbinger of bad luck, he hasn't had a single day of peace. Brutus and Titus just stand silently right behind Monty, saying absolutely nothing. Our MC tells young Master Wu not to panic. His attitude is incredibly sincere. There is absolutely zero doubt about it. Sincere his ass. Monty is being pushed right to the brink of total insanity. He always thought he was the ultimate arrogant jerk. He never expected to meet a guy whose skin was thicker than a literal bank vault door. The MC scratches his head. Honestly, he just wants to ask a quick question about Aurelia and that guy Lucius. The second Lucius gets mentioned, Monty instantly shuts up cold. After a brief internal struggle, he starts talking really fast. Back in their university days, Aurelia had this best friend named Harper. Lucius was going after Aurelia and used Harper to blackmail her. Lucius literally tortured Harper into a permanent vegetative state. She is still stuck in a hospital bed right now. Our MC is completely shocked. A massive crime like that and nobody stepped up. Monty explains you need hard evidence. That absolute rat Lucius never gets his own hands dirty. He just paid off some local thugs to do the brutal work. In the end, Aurelia actually got those thugs thrown into prison, sentenced to life behind bars. But Harper is an orphan, so you and I know how the world works. He gets it completely. For a powerhouse like Aurelia, realizing her best friend's life was totally ruined just because of her, you can only imagine how much insane heartbreak and pure despair she felt. Meanwhile, Monty sees the freezing, murderous intent radiating from the MC's eyes and just cannot help but shrink back in pure terror. He is secretly praising the heavens he hasn't totally offended this guy yet. That is absolutely not a look any normal human being should ever have. Honestly, Monty actually feels a weird wave of sympathy for Lucius right now. Dealing with a lunatic like our MC, Aurelia might follow rules and look for evidence, but this guy, no rules apply here. He doesn't care about reputation and his methods have absolutely zero limits. Our MC grabs a small pocket knife and slices the thick ropes, freeing Monty. Then he just casually asks, "Oh, by the way, I heard from that short rich kid that you and Lucius have a massive grudge. What is the deal?" With that, Monty freezes up. Stick with me here. He snaps back to reality. Back in the day, he and Lucius were literally known as the two biggest playboys in the Magic City. Once, to settle who was the ultimate boss, they agreed to a one-on-one duel. But the crazy part, that coward actually called a whole gang to jump him. Hearing this, the MC can't help but scoff. That is absolutely disgusting. Monty angrily rubs his sore arms and snaps back furiously. Just let me go. See you next time. Monty storms off, completely fuming with rage. He swears to the heavens that from now on he will never leave his house without a small army of bodyguards. Who knows when our unpredictable MC might suddenly get bored and tie the guy up again. We watch Monty storm away while our guy gleefully throws his arms around Brutus and Titus. Brothers, let's keep today's little operation a total secret from Aurelia. All right, later I will take you guys to the bathhouse to experience the high life. Titus pats his chest confidently. Do not worry, we are all brothers here. Half an hour later, inside the Century Tower CEO office, and you and I know exactly how it happened, miss. Titus relays every single detail of what had just gone down directly to Aurelia. He completely ignores our MC's piercing glare, practically screaming, "You absolute traitor." Aurelia just stares at him coldly for a moment. Then she stands up and walks toward the door. Follow me. After driving around the city for a while, they finally arrive at this super secluded underground clinic. Middle-aged doctor is waiting right at the entrance. How is her condition? Still no changes. The chances of her ever waking up are microscopically slim. The doctor sighs helplessly, following Aurelia straight up to the second floor. He sees a massive 100 square meter room, high-tech medical machines totally surround a girl lying on a hospital bed. Her face is exquisite but deathly pale, eyes tightly shut. She looks exactly like a sleeping beauty trapped in an eternal slumber. Take a look at her. I have sought out countless famous doctors, but absolutely no one has a solution. Aurelia lets out a heavy sigh. Our MC sits on the edge of the bed next to the girl. He picks up her icy hand and begins to check her pulse. A few short minutes later, he wipes the sweat from his forehead and says her brain stem and cerebral cortex have not suffered permanent physical destruction. Her foundational vitals are actually still okay. The middle-aged doctor asks Aurelia in a shocked whisper, "Did this gentleman understand Miss Harper's condition beforehand?" Aurelia shakes her head. The doctor is instantly utterly astounded. Our hero pulls out a silver needle. Pay close attention to her pulse reaction. Although it was incredibly faint, there was indeed a reaction. This gives him a solid baseline of confidence. Do you have pen and paper? He turns and asks the doctor. The stunned doctor hurriedly hands over a ballpoint pen and a notepad. He rapidly scribbles down 2 prescriptions. Follow these 2 prescriptions. Feed her a very small amount of the medicinal soup every single day. Remember, absolutely do not overfeed her. The doctor takes one look at the prescriptions and instantly understands their genius mechanism. He nods in agreement. Understood. Administer these 2 prescriptions for 1 month first. I will return for a follow-up consultation in exactly 1 month. Aurelia asks with intense curiosity, how much confidence do you have? He leans close to her ear mysteriously and whispers, take a guess. Aurelia smiles softly, but suddenly she raises her hand and delivers a devastatingly heavy slap right to his butt. You violent shrew. What are you doing? What did you just call me? Aurelia glares at him with absolute 0 degrees. Wifey, I am not arrogant anymore. I am grounded. He hurriedly admits defeat, rubbing his stinging butt and mumbling complaints. However, Aurelia is not a completely unreasonable tyrant either. She directly transfers 10 million in pocket money to his account as a glorious reward. On the drive home that afternoon, looking at Aurelia sitting in the passenger seat, scrolling through online shopping apps, he curls his lip and complains, Wifey. All right, you and I are jumping in. He says, I don't like you as much anymore. Just look at yourself. You are nothing like the sugar mommies in the novels. Those ladies literally buy whatever the male lead wants. Aurelia actually ponders this deeply for a second. That actually makes some sense, right? Exactly. Our boy is thrilled. He quickly strikes while the iron is hot. You really need to reflect on yourself profoundly. I am not asking you to serve me hand and foot, but you could at least change your cold attitude a little bit, right? Aurelia replies completely flatly. No need to change. I will just stop treating you as my husband. Problem solved. He freezes cold. He completely fails to process what she even means. Then what are you going to treat me as? That way I won't have to care about your feelings at all. For dinner that night, Mrs. Gable specifically prepares a massive hot pot. The dipping sauce is her own secret recipe. They can add whatever delicious ingredients they want. Steak, chicken breast, and chicken wings. The fridge is completely stocked with everything imaginable. He absolutely gorges himself with pure delight. Now look at Aurelia, who is still just staring down and tapping away on her phone. He asks in complete confusion, you have been staring at your phone since the car ride back. What is so extremely hard to buy? Couple pajamas, the cute ones. I have not picked the perfect one yet. Got it. Aurelia shoves her phone screen right up into his face. She proudly points at a bear-themed onesie pajama on the screen. Look, this would look absolutely and incredibly adorable on you. He takes exactly one single glance at it and replies with absolute deadpan seriousness. Even if you beat me to death, I will never ever wear this monstrosity to sleep in. The smile completely vanishes off of Aurelia's face. She lowers her head and goes right back to online shopping. Since you don't like it, then forget it. Let me see if I can find a durian made entirely of steel spikes. Kneeling on that should feel absolutely fantastic, and it is highly durable. He immediately reverses his stance at the speed of light. Actually, I really think the pajama you just showed me is absolutely stunning. I love it with all my heart. Please, I literally beg you, you absolutely must buy it for me to sleep in. Aurelia chuckles. At least you know what is actually good for you. She decisively saves the picture and sends it to her secretary. The quality of pajamas bought online is always terrible. Custom-tailored fabrics are just way more comfortable, even though it costs a bit more cash. It is just small change. I will just extort the money back from him in a couple of days. She suddenly lowers her voice and says, if you can actually make Harper wake up, I will agree to one condition of yours. Absolutely any condition. He doesn't quite catch that part. He blinks in total confusion. What did you just say? Just eat your food. Aurelia shoots him a highly annoyed glare. The next day, as soon as he arrives at the clinic, watch this, a massive army of wealthy society ladies swarms the entrance, all thanks to the tireless promotional efforts of Mrs. Harrington and Mrs. Davenport. The news has spread like total wildfire through the Magic City high society circles. The Century Clinic is now officially completely famous. Dr. Zhang, please take a look at my lower back. It has been so sore and aching lately. The medicine the hospital prescribed is completely useless. Please lie down. I will treat it for you right now. Bart, who is acting as the cashier, is trembling with pure excitement as he calculates the massive profits, muttering endlessly to himself, haha, we are filthy rich now, just the pure net. All right, you and I know the clinic's profit, easily topping 10 million. They finally cleared out the massive morning rush. It was past 9 a.m. Bart grabbed his car keys, ready to hit the road and source more medicinal herbs. He basically handled all the clinic's random grunt work, and since he was pulling in massive bank, he had zero complaints about doing the heavy lifting. Meanwhile, Caspian headed straight up to Aurelia's office. He crashed on the couch, booting up a mobile game, while the secretary was busy giving her report. The office phone suddenly rang. Yes, I understand. She turned to Aurelia, reporting with a completely helpless look. Lucius is back. He showed up yesterday afternoon. But you were gone, now he's back again. Caspian was just starting his game match. His ears instantly perked up. Hearing that guy's name, a massive wave of pure disgust hit Aurelia. She ordered coldly, have Brutus and Titus drag him up here. Let's see exactly what kind of stunt he thinks he'll pull. Caspian also followed her right out of the office. I'm heading downstairs to grab something, he thought, a dark smirk forming. This absolute trash had bullied his wife, and now he actually dares to walk right up to their doorstep. The guy was literally begging to be ruined. Meanwhile, at a Magic City cafe, Ashton, fresh off being grounded, dragged Monty out for a meetup. Ashton leaned in, buzzing with wild excitement. Got some fresh intel. That jerk Lucius headed straight to Century Tower to mess with Caspian. Should we back him up? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Monty took a slow sip of coffee, replying with pure disgust. Who on earth wants to be friends with that guy Zhang? Do you realize he literally ordered his goons to snatch me off the street in broad daylight yesterday? Neither of them are the good guys here. Ashton winked, giving him a nudge. Don't tell me you don't want to teach Lucius a lesson. You got wrecked back in the day and shipped straight overseas because of him. I've personally kept that grudge burning alive this entire time. Monty just let out a cold laugh. Do you seriously think Caspian is some weak pushover? I ran a background check on him last night. Turns out, back in university, he completely offended the son of a heavy local gang boss. The guy brought a whole crew to jump Caspian. The result, every single one of them ended up permanently crippled, and the doctors, they couldn't find a single shred of medical evidence. You and I know that's completely terrifying, right? Ashton was completely speechless. He's really that terrifying, Monty continued. Everyone knows you never mess with doctors, especially a total medical god who basically wields dark arts. He can finish you off without anyone ever knowing. How that is true, ultimate terror right there. Deep, profound respect instantly washed over Ashton. I seriously need to go beg him to be my master. Under the escort of Brutus and Titus, Lucius swaggered into the CEO's office with an incredibly arrogant strut. His gaze locked right onto Caspian, who was currently playing games on the couch. Lucius stepped forward, the corner of his mouth curling into a nasty sneer of pure contempt. So, you're the little pet dog the Shen family is keeping. The moment those vicious words dropped, the atmosphere in the office instantly froze solid. Caspian, however, just replied with absolute deadpan seriousness. To be exact, I am my darling Aurelia's pet, but honestly, I feel like I'm the one keeping her. She absolutely loves draining my private stash of cash. The Lucius's mouth twitched hard. He felt an overwhelming sense of pure powerlessness, like punching a giant ball of cotton. Would any normal guy ever openly admit to being a pet dog? But this only made Lucius look down on our MC even more. He unleashed the insults without hesitating. He sneered, I heard Aurelia found herself a gigolo while I was gone, coming here. I was actually expecting you to be formidable, but now I clearly see. You're just a pathetic clown jumping around, a trashy orphan with absolutely no parents. Lucius totally ignored our guy after that. He just walked right up to the desk, sitting directly across from Aurelia. Then he brazenly stared at her ridiculously beautiful face. The thing is, he'd seen plenty of gorgeous women. No matter how pretty she was, it was just a face. With absolute power in his hands, what woman couldn't he get? Aurelia. Was the warning I gave you not enough? You want this pathetic little gigolo ending up exactly like Harper. The smile instantly vanished completely from Lucius's face. His eyes hid a venomous, lethal kind of threat. Every single word was meant to pierce her heart. He knew perfectly well that Aurelia could never actually like him, so he resorted to the most extreme methods, making everyone around her suffer horrific tragedies, basically forcing her into absolute submission. If you dare touch him, Aurelia stared right back at Lucius, her gaze terrifyingly calm. I will erase your entire family from the face of this earth. You're welcome to test me. Lucius's smile completely froze. On his face, he shot a glare back at our MC, who was still happily playing his game. Lucius never expected Aurelia to actually care this much about him, but the more she cared, the happier Lucius got. He just found a way better target to completely destroy. Keep a close eye on your little pet. Within 3 days, I'll break him completely. Lucius stood up with large strides and stormed out. Watching his retreating back, our MC had only one word pop into his mind: arrogant. Arrogant without a single bottom line. Now watch this. Sunlight spilled through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Flash of silver light darted through the air. A totally customized silver needle embedded itself perfectly right into Lucius's butt cheek. He didn't notice a single thing and just kept walking. The silver needles our doctor custom ordered were only 1 millimeter thick, and this specific one was coated in a highly potent anesthetic liquid. Because the dosage was tiny, it wouldn't take effect right away. It would activate in exactly 10 minutes. Lucius stepped into the elevator, pulled out his phone, making a call. Break a guy's hands, 5 million per hand. I'll text you the info soon. Do it cleanly and quietly. After hanging up, he sneered coldly. A doctor, huh? Once I break both your hands, I really want to see how you'll keep playing doctor. The elevator doors slid open. His red Ferrari sports car was already waiting right at the entrance. He got into the car and slammed on the gas pedal, planning to find a nice place to completely unwind. Suddenly, a wooling minivan, a cheap, boxy work van, overtook his sports car from behind. Before Lucius could even rage, the window of that wooling rolled down and a middle finger was proudly shoved out. Then, zoom, the van sped off, leaving a massive cloud of dust. A garbage van dares to mess with me. Furious, Lucius completely lost it. Lucius stomped hard on the gas pedal. His flashy sports car quickly bolted forward. The two vehicles tore wildly through the busy city streets, forcing terrified drivers to swerve completely out of their path. Finally, both cars hit an empty stretch of the expressway. Lucius smirked coldly, then slammed the pedal down to the metal. His Ferrari surged ahead, but that beat-up van suddenly hit the brakes and pulled over to the side. Right At that exact moment, a massive wave of pure exhaustion washed over Lucius. After parking his flashy ride, his head just kept getting heavier, and right then, the awful, punchy smell of cheap fertilizer completely swallowed him whole. 10 minutes later, Caspian rolled up slowly in a massive Rolls-Royce. Bart waved frantically. From the side of the road, he shouted, "Over here, it is all completely handled." The two men worked together to hoist up the heavy fertilizer sack, which now held a deeply unconscious Lucius inside. They shoved him into the van. Caspian also made sure to jab him with one extra needle, just to guarantee he stayed totally out cold for at least half a day. Right as they slammed the trunk shut, a Lamborghini roared over from the end of the street. Its flashy owner, Ashton, hopped out shouting with intense excitement, "Brother Caspian, we are beating someone up today, right? Count me in." Caspian just laughed. "All right, hop in. Today we are teaching this arrogant punk a very educational lesson about the dark, terrifying realities of society." Meanwhile, back in the corner office, Brutus looked over at Aurelia, who was still calmly sorting through her paperwork. He asked her in total confusion, "Boss, Caspian went to start massive trouble with Lucius. Should we seriously not go help him out?" Aurelia's tone, however, stayed completely rock solid. "I believe in him." Her man was absolutely not some weak piece of trash who needed constant hand holding for every single little issue. After getting rid of the abandoned Ferrari on the shoulder of the road, Bart, Ashton, and Caspian hit a secluded grove. Stick with me, it gets wild here. It was actually the exact same spot where Aurelia previously dug a pit to bury Caspian.